enable the Answer St. Louis skill.
After she confirms, you can then say,
Alexa, play the Answer St. Louis.
That's all you have to do, and Alexa will learn how to find us. You can listen to us through your Amazon Echo, Echo Show, Echo Dot, and Amazon Tap devices. Alexa, what is your favorite radio station?
That's easy. 1380 and 105.3, The Answer.
There's a place for you at St. Matthew in Belleville. 9 a.m. is our blended service with a 70-voice sanctuary choir and orchestra. Our contemporary service is at 11 a.m. led by our praise band. Make St. Matt's a great start to your week. I'm Scott Ferguson, Director of Outreach, and I can't wait to see you Sunday. For more information, visit us at stmatthewumc.org.
Health insurance premiums making you sick? Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. I have the answer. Dryden Camus Insurance Agency serving Missouri and Illinois. This is non-Obamacare, and you can enroll anytime. You don't have to wait for open enrollment. Why should you have to pay for maternity coverage and pediatric dental care if you don't need it? KDDI-INS.com. KDDI-INS.com, or call Joyce at 877-695-0245. 877-695-0245. This is the answer. This is the solution. KDDI-INS.com.
This Labor Day weekend, get major savings on men's and women's Levi's denim. Plus, save on select home items like mattresses, towels, and more. Get grand old savings this Thursday through Monday at JCPenney.
Common Sense Radio with Allman in the morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Give me land, lots of land, and the starry skies above. Don't fence me in. Let me ride through the wide open country that I love. Don't fence me in. Let me be by myself in the evening breeze. Listen to the murmur of the cottonwood trees. Send me off forever, but I ask you please.
Oh, yes. Good morning, everybody, and happy Wednesday, all of you. Big day today. We learned that you must not call that baby Brett Stevens, the New York Times, a bedbug. That was the most hilarious thing of the day, I'll tell you that, yesterday. We're going to follow up on that, plus Dave Chappelle being eaten up by the left-wing mob. Dave Chappelle, of all people. I'm Dave Chappelle. Yeah, can't believe it. In the meantime, though, right out of the blocks, of course, every Wednesday morning as it is, he's up and at 'em. He's ready to rock. His name is Jim Carafano. He's from the Heritage Foundation, and he's a star, ladies and gentlemen, in our eyes. How you doing, buddy? Hi.
Hey, my feet just do the happy dance when they play the "Don't Fence Me In" song.
I
just can't help it.
It's such a great song. And by the way, just, you and I might have talked about that before, and I don't want to waste too much valuable time because I know you're on a short leash here because you're cheating on us with somebody else at 6:17. But nonetheless, that's David Byrne from the Talking Heads doing a version of Cole Porter's "Don't Fence Me In" from an album. It's a compilation of all kinds of different people doing Cole Porter songs. So it's called Red Hot and Blue. And so Sting is doing a Cole Porter song. I think even the Thompson twins do one. It's pretty interesting. And that one always stood out to me. So, yeah.
I never knew that was David Byrne. That's crazy. I love it. I just saw him in concert not long ago.
Oh, great. You did? You went to go see David Byrne? Dude, you are so much more. I always thought you were like ultra cool, but that makes you really super cool now. You went to go see David Byrne.
I went to a Lyle Lovett concert, but let's not go there. Let's just move on.
Well, that too, though. Lyle Lovett's pretty cool himself, I have to tell you. But David Byrne, I mean, that's kind of off the grid, man. But congratulations on that. All right. So was it good, by the way, real quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. It was awesome.
Okay. All right. So we have the news this morning. A lot going on. We have the news this morning that the Department of Homeland Security is now infusing some money in for border security, $271 million. That's got to be good news, correct?
It's great. They argue we don't want to we don't want to wall across something, whatever. Everybody's talked to the experts. There's probably arguably between 600-700 miles of wall that really is efficacious and totally makes sense. So when we get there, then we can argue about the other, 300 or something. But what the administration is doing is absolutely spot on. I think it's just so in your face that Trump has managed to do this, build new, expanded, and really effective border infrastructure despite the other guys. I hats off to him.
Yeah, so do you think there's going to be some kind of, I don't know what, there's always some kind of backlash. They figure out something. So if I really had it out for President Trump, I would talk about how, oh, wow, just less than a month before the anniversary of 9/11, we're diverting funds from the Department of Homeland Security to discriminate against Mexicans. I don't know.
Yeah, nobody cares.
Okay, I'm just trying to.
No, I think the problem for the left is they've gone so anti-Trump on immigration and border security that they've gone to silliness. I mean, their answer is literally do nothing.
Yes.
Let everybody in, give them health care, Social Security, and everything, do nothing and have open borders. I mean, it's very, very difficult to argue that the left's position is anything more than open borders. And so they have no space to go. I mean, they can't fall off the end of the earth because they're teetering on the edge.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. All right, so also as it relates to trade, there's some interesting dynamics going on here. I really do think that the president seems to be getting the upper hand in this trade issue. China is really such an interesting animal in terms of their responses. It's almost as if the minute President Trump announced at the G7 that Japan was going to buy a bunch of corn up, China said, hey, listen, we'll go ahead and start talking. That was interesting. I appreciated that.
It's funny. I was on Fox Business this morning, and they read an assessment that was exactly the opposite. That basically China's playing Trump like a fiddle. And so they read this thing, and they go, "Well, the Washington Post reported," and I go, "Well, look, you don't get objective reporting from the Washington Post," and they go, "Well, no," and then from the New York Times they go, "No, it's the Washington Post." I said, "I don't care." Washington Post, New York Times. You're not getting objective reporting. I mean, you're just getting essentially a partisan screed. I think the reality is I don't know if we can really make a fair assessment of how the back and forth between these guys is going. It's like I said, look, it's like a poker game. If everybody wants to show me their cards, I'll tell you how the game's going to end. But I think there's just so much back and forth between these two sides, and each side's trying to poke the other. If you're asking me who's winning the race, I don't know.
Yeah, I understand that. We don't know. It's the first time this has ever happened where we've had an American president confront China in this fashion, so we really don't know. All right.
And this is the thing that totally gets missed is G7 and all this. Everybody acknowledges under their breath, because they don't want to say a nice thing about Trump, that at some point somebody had to stand up to the Chinese. That literally he is the chosen one. That for the first time we have a global leader who is saying China is the problem and we need to deal with this. We may not all agree on how to deal with it. We may not agree if his way is the right way, but he has done something that no other leader has done, which has pinned the tail on the donkey. This is the big global problem. He's done that, and we should credit him for that.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, and then speaking of G7, let's talk about G8. And let's talk about the talk of President Trump talking about Putin coming back. I thought it was very interesting over the weekend how everybody suddenly took a sudden interest in Crimea and the actions of Putin when under Obama this happened and he did nothing. It was a series of doing nothings when Putin acted, whether it be originally with Ukraine or when Putin was doing all kinds of other things. And so suddenly everybody was like, yeah, but what about Crimea? It's like, wait a minute, you didn't care about Crimea back when Putin actually annexed it under the nose of Obama. Can you educate us on that?
Well, I still think actually that we care about Crimea. This is because Macron the other day said, "Oh, let's let Russia back in too." But what neither one of them said, right, was let Russia back in. But right, so well, what are the criteria under which we would let Russia back in? And honestly, I don't think that's changed for the United States.
Yeah,
I mean, Trump blames Obama for losing, which is fair. I mean, it happened on his watch. I mean, in fairness to Obama, I think there's probably limited things the U.S. could have done. We could have stronger signal support for the Ukraine before, maybe deterred Putin from doing it. But once he grabbed Crimea, I mean, we can really we're going to start World War III to stop that. But it happened on Obama's watch. The U.S. Trump administration has been very strong. We've never recognized Russia's ownership of the Ukraine. And I think for Russia to get back in to rejoin the G8, they'd have to do a whole bunch of things, including going back to what's called the Minsk agreements, which is how Ukraine and Russia is supposed to negotiate their way out of this crisis, that they'd have to commit to that. But nobody talks about that. They just said, we want Russia back in. And nobody asks, okay, well, what do they have to do? And the answer is probably they're going to have to do all the stuff they always had to do to get back in and get the sanctions off. So I'm not really sure our position's really changed, and I don't think Trump's gone soft on Russia.
Yeah, I don't either. But what I'm saying is it just seemed as if people acted like President Trump was being soft on Putin and that Crimea somehow was his fault. I mean, honestly, if you were under 30 and not watching the news, you'd believe that based on what the news said.
Right, and of course Macron said the same thing, but nobody attacked Macron.
Right.
Look, I mean, if you look at the coverage of the G7, all it really tells you is about the politics of the people covering it. Right, everybody just spun. The G7 is just a talk fest. Nothing really happens, and nothing did happen. Right, but the spin is always about what do I want to say? If I want to attack Trump, it's like this article in the Washington Post saying, "Well, the Chinese are just playing Trump." Well, what are your sources that really tell you that? How many of you really know what the Chinese are doing and thinking? Do you have people in China? Are the Chinese? Did you do an interview with the Xi? I mean, they're just making this stuff up in their heads.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing though. If the G7 happens at Doral, I'm going. You know what I mean? I'm going to cover the G7 for the first time in my life.
No, you're not. You're going to go down and play a couple rounds of golf.
Well, if I really played golf, yeah, I would. I still have my dad's irons that actually are like swinging tree trunks.
Those are the ones he used when he played with Bob Hogan.
Oh yeah, I'm not kidding you. I still have persimmon woods, buddy. It's
retro.
Oh yeah, and the bag is made out of Naugahyde. It looks like the roof of a Torino. I'm not kidding you.
You need knickers and a little cap, and you would be the darling of the chorus.
Oh yeah, I mean,
people would leave the G7 to go report on you playing a round of golf.
No doubt about it. I don't think they'd let that stuff on the plane. They'd be like, "What is this thing?" All right, and also real quickly, I know that this was something that probably amused you was Bernie Sanders praising China for having a positive.
Where do you start?
I know. I thought that.
I mean, Bernie Sanders praising China. They put 1 million people in prison, and first of all, they lifted more people out of poverty than anything. Well, they have about a third of the planet's population. I mean, they do more anything than anything, right? I mean, but to be praising China, that's the guy that wants to be. I can't go into the politics of this stuff, but
yeah,
look, there's nothing admirable about the Chinese system. Look what they're doing to the people of Hong Kong. They're reneged on their promises. They promised the Hong Kong people when the British returned sovereignty that would be one country, two systems. They've lied about that. They throw 1 million Uyghurs in prison. They are bankrupting countries and stealing their ports. I mean, is that his idea of a moral thing he wants to emulate? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I just find that really odd. It's like, yeah, he wants to bring that system here, and we're like, wait a second, we know a little bit about that system. Goodness gracious.
And of course, the irony is they didn't lift people out of poverty by relying on socialism and communism. They lifted people out of poverty by a combination of adopting capitalist practices and cheating, lying, and stealing.
Yeah, wow. For Bernie to be out there, it's crazy. All right. Well, hey, I hope you have a great rest of your week. I trust that I don't know whether you're traveling last week or you had a vacation, but I hope you've had
I was in Texas.
Oh, okay. Great.
Yeah, we were out there talking to Heartland.
All right. Well, listen, I hear the phone ringing.
All right, brother.
I hear the other chime from the other guy. All right. Okay, buddy. Have a great rest of your week.
All right. Talk to you next week.
All right. That's Jim Carafano. Yeah, I'm not kidding about those. If you look at my golf bag, I need to bring that out again, man. I'll bring it in here. Of course, it weighs like 100 pounds. And if you've ever seen what Naugahyde is, it's banana yellow. Although it's not really banana yellow, it's weathered banana yellow. And the irons. Do you play golf at all, Phil? Yeah, you don't. I'm going to ask Maxie if he plays golf because I know Maxie does not play golf. Maxie, do you play golf?
I mean, mini golf.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah. Okay, if you're like me, then, because I mean, I when I say I know Maxie doesn't play golf, isn't meant to be some kind of disparaging comment. I actually think that not playing golf sometimes can be a feather in your cap. Because let me tell you something, with kids, I don't know how these guys get away with it, but these guys who golf on Saturdays for 5 hours. I don't know how they do it. I don't know what they've done throughout the week. They must have built up a large amount of marital capital and family capital to do that. But plus, there came a time where people just stopped playing 9 holes, and now automatically had to go play 18 holes. It's like, well, wait a minute, though. Why can't we just play 9? That's what we used to do all the time. Play 9 holes. Takes you about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Buzz through it. Go to Ruth Park in U City. You can even do it faster. And you're done. But no, it's got to be 18 holes. You got to slink around. And plus, golfing, it used to be like for like tournaments and things sometimes or whatever. And you go and you're with, it just is tedium sometimes. Anyway, I've got this golf bag and my dad's golf clubs. And these are irons. These are blades, like true blades. Like now you have these irons that are really light, but these things they're like 20 pounds a piece. Like the 7-iron, you get out, you're like, oh, and you're like, boom, I don't know how they played with them back in the day. And the persimmon woods with the screws on the front are awesome. I really actually kind of like, I actually think, for instance, Natalie, my 11-year-old, she's a great athlete, and I think that golf, she might like golf. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to, so many things that you want to do with your kids, and introducing them to $60 guaranteed 18 rounds of golf and being away from your kids is probably maybe not the environment that I will teach her in. But anyway, it could be fun. All right, so lots to talk about, including, I know there's a little bit of a salacious bent, this Ilhan Omar thing, because apparently the wife of one of the guys who works with her filed for divorce or something, and then claimed that her husband had an affair with Ilhan Omar. And I don't know what kind of relevancy this really has to the equation, but I know that Ilhan Omar acts like she's a prima donna, and, it just goes to show you everybody's got something going on. We'll talk more about that. The Brett Stevens thing, folks, you got to hear this. This is the guy I attacked earlier in the week. He's the neocon, never Trumper at the New York Times. He's supposedly the conservative guy at the New York Times. And he's a very reprehensible individual, very annoying individual, and always pops on whenever he can prostitute himself, like, for instance, over the weekend, calling President Trump sick and unfit and all this kind of stuff. Boy, talk about unfit. Try calling Brett Bedbug Stevens Bedbug, and he goes crazy. We'll have that for you. 844, that's fun. 844-855-1380. The calltammy.com real estate listener line.
More Allman in the Morning coming up on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer. Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Still a wide open morning on our roads, but we do have plenty of road work that will be going on. And we've got construction on 255 northbound and southbound, either way between Musette Lane to Collinsville Road. That will be until 9 o'clock this morning. 44 eastbound, road work before 270, and that will be there until the end of the year. We usually see delays with that during the rush hour. Your on-ramp from Van Deventer to westbound 44, that remains closed with construction until the end of the year. And that's traffic. I'm Bonnie Green. On 1380 and 105.3 The Answer. Online at theanswerstl.com.
Allman here for a longtime Common Sense Radio supporter, Matthew Mitchell, the Matthew Mitchell Allstate Agency, 855-QUOTE-ME. Low premiums and low deductibles on your home, auto, and life, and I have all 3 of those policies with my good friend Matthew. Also, he's got some great deals for the young driver. You know how expensive it can be to insure them. He's got low premiums and low deductibles, even for your young drivers. 855-QUOTE-ME, 855-QUOTE-ME.
This Labor Day weekend, get major savings on men's and women's Levi's denim. Plus, save on select home items like mattresses, towels, and more. Get grand old savings this Thursday through Monday at JCPenney.
You love that smell. That new truck smell. All cleaned up and ready to go.
Did you get your vent visor?
You know, the rain guard that goes over your window? Stop by Custom Car and Truck in O'Fallon, Illinois for free installation and lifetime warranty on vent visors.
How about your bug shield? You don't want to mess up the hood of your new truck with dead bugs. Keep them off the hood with free installation and lifetime warranty bug shield.
See John and the crew off Highway 50 in O'Fallon, Illinois,
or online at customcarandtruck.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Hi, this is Jess with Razorback Armory in Des Peres. I would like to take a moment to thank all of our Answer listeners for their continued patronage and support over the last 4 years. I know there are many choices out there for you to spend your hard-earned dollars. I definitely appreciate you choosing to shop local with Razorback Armory as your go-to shop for firearms, silencers, ammo, and accessories. Thanks again, and I look forward to seeing you soon at Razorback Armory, located just east of 270 on Manchester Road in Des Peres and online at RazorbackArmory.com.
Hey, Michael's Flooring Outlet is back supporting Allman in the Morning. Love this guy and love what they do for you. 4 locations throughout the St. Louis area. Check it out at michaelsflooringoutlet.com. The best installers you're going to find anywhere. The highest quality flooring products you're going to find anywhere. And if you want to test it out, go to Google and just Google Michael's Flooring Outlet reviews. And you're going to see top-notch 5-star ratings almost all across the board. michaelsflooringoutlet.com.
Hey, don't just listen to Allman in the Morning. See the show at theanswerstl.com. Now, more Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming.
And welcome back, everybody. Good morning. This morning, you might find yourself Oh, good morning this morning. Why don't you? We want to hear Bernie Sanders really quickly, in case you're filled in. Did you hear what he said to say, Phil? So some people, I don't know whether you're like that much in the news cycle that you might have heard it already. But here he is.
Bernie thing? I didn't hear it.
Yeah,
no.
This is what Bernie had to say in an interview about China. You know, China is here.
Talking about the threat of China to American workers and predicting that if we normalize trade relations with China, it'd be devastating to American workers. And you actually predicted at the time that normalizing trade relations with China would be the end of the two-party system. Of course, we have now you as a top candidate as an outsider, and Donald Trump, who ran as an outsider and basically took over the Republican Party. What is your view of China today? Do you believe China represents an existential threat to the American worker?
I wouldn't use the word existential threat. You know, I think China is a country that is moving, unfortunately, in a more authoritarian way in a number of directions.
Moving in that direction.
We would have hoped that they would move toward a more democratic form of government, and moving in the opposite direction. And they are a country that vigorously protects their own interests. But what we have to say about China, in fairness to China and its leadership, is, if I'm not mistaken, they have made more progress in addressing extreme poverty than any country in the history of civilization. Okay, so they've done a lot of things for their people. Their economy now is struggling, but I think it is absolutely possible for us to have a positive working relationship with China. What I said back then and what I believed.
That's incredible coming from a presidential candidate. And the only reason he's saying that is because he needs to defend his own system that he wants to install in the U.S. Because we all know that every time he talks about socialism and everything else, we compare it to countries like China, and he doesn't like that. So China's image must be reburnished by Bernie. Yeah. 844-855-1380.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. Homeland Security doing some creative budgeting to boost border security and care for non-citizens along the southern border. DHS shifting $271 million from agencies including FEMA and the Coast Guard. It is raining in Puerto Rico, the island feeling the early impact of Tropical Storm Dorian, expected to hit in earnest later today. President Trump issuing an emergency declaration aimed at expediting federal aid to Puerto Rico should that aid be required. Meanwhile, Florida keeping a close eye on the storm, which could affect parts of the East Coast this weekend. The president's longtime bank, Deutsche Bank, says it has tax returns that are relevant to subpoenas issued by House Democrats investigating Mr. Trump's finances. Stock futures have turned negative. Dow futures now down 51 points. More details at srnnews.com.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
We're still clear this morning. Still no accidents or delays. I'm sure that will change. But for right now, that's what we're looking at. We do have a lot of road work, though. Midday work starts up today, 9 to 4. You'll see construction on westbound 70 on the Museal Veterans Memorial Bridge. We've got a lot of ramp closures. Your on-ramp from Van Deventer to westbound 44 closed with road work until the end of the year. And the on-ramp from Watson to westbound 44 closed with road work until the end of October. So some delay. You might see some delays there. And that's traffic. I'm Bonnie Green. On 1380 and 105.3 The Answer. Online at theanswerstl.com.
1380 The Answer. Weather.
Sunny and pleasant today. A comfortable 82 degrees as your high. Clear tonight. Low 64. Sunny and pleasant for Thursday. High 86 into Friday. A little bit warmer, humid, intervals of clouds and sunshine. Expect a thunderstorm in the area in the afternoon. High 87. Some sun on Saturday. High 82. I'm Maddie Baggett with your St. Louis Metro forecast on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
All right, folks, so you got to check out the Rhino Shield difference. And as we're getting into potentially another crazy winter like we had last year, winter was really tough on exteriors of homes, paint jobs, everything else. Imagine having a vacation home someplace and opening it up in springtime and noticing that you got to paint again. Well, I want to tell you, Rhino Shield will take that completely out of your realm and make it really easy for you to maintain things like a vacation home. Have you not have to mess with your business's exterior? Have you not have to mess with your home's exterior? Because Rhino Shield is a product that is 3 times as thick. It's a ceramic tiling, 3 times as thick as paint. It's 100% waterproof, and it really is in the realm of the most beautiful exterior improvement product I think I've seen it in a long time. If you go to 877-25rhino.com, you're going to be able to see actually the Rhino Shield difference. And when you look at the pictures of Rhino Shield in action, what you're going to see is something that looks like freshly coated paint. It always has the look of fresh paint, which is pretty darn amazing, but that's what it looks like. That's the beauty of it. It also is a deflector of 90% of the UV rays out there, so you don't have to worry at all about your heating and cooling bills because your home is insulated perfectly, and you're also going to get some great deals on it right now because what he does, what Darren likes to do is sign everybody up. He works in the weather obviously is always dicey, but not really in the fall. In St. Louis, I keep the pool open sometimes through Halloween. That's how nice it stays. Oftentimes, I have to get the clean leaves out of it, but that's another story. Nonetheless, that's how it works. And so he can work on into November, into even December sometimes. So you can go ahead and get on the books, get some good pricing right now. And Rhino Shield that vacation home, Rhino Shield that business, Rhino Shield that home of yours, and beautify it in ways you never could have imagined in the first place. And it's a 25-year transferable warranty. 877-25rhino.com, 877-25rhino, 877-25rhino.com. It's Rhino Shield.
Dennis Prager is tired of the media coverage of the president.
There's always another example of the president being divisive. The president basically said, why would a Jew vote Democrat? How could this be? Jews, I want you to be more faithful to your people and to the Jewish state. That is now white nationalist advocacy.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekday mornings at 11 on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer. News, opinion, insight.
This Labor Day weekend, get major savings on men's and women's Levi's denim. Plus, save on select home items like mattresses, towels, and more. Get grand old savings this Thursday through Monday at JCPenney.
Listen to Allman in the Morning with Alexa. Wake up and say, Alexa, play The Answer St. Louis. Now, back to Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me.
This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island. From the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream border.
This land was made for you and me until I take it away, like they did in China. In China.
To China and its leadership is, if I'm not mistaken, they have made more progress in addressing extreme poverty.
It's funny how he says, if I'm not mistaken, because because Bernie, you are mistaken. So thanks for giving us that A or B option for you. If I'm not, it's funny how he says, if I'm not mistaken, on what is really a major error in describing China and what it's done for its people. It completely ignores any of the imprisonments and the deaths and the totalitarian suffocation of its people. It just completely ignores that. And if I'm not mistaken is usually something you put in before. If I'm not mistaken, I think the Cardinals won 7-2 yesterday. No, you are mistaken. It's actually 12-2, but yeah. But I mean, that's like a minor kind of detail when you say, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that the I believe that Joe Biden was in Vermont yesterday. No, he was in New Hampshire. He said he was in Vermont, but he was in New Hampshire. Yeah, that kind of stuff. But you don't usually say, if I'm not mistaken, that's like saying, if I'm not mistaken, Hitler was pretty amazing when it came to helping his people with the invention of the Autobahn highway. That kind of thing. It's kind of like you can't really be, if I'm not mistaken, on major things like this. If I'm not mistaken, China was awesome. It's like, no.
In addressing extreme poverty than any country in the history of civilization. Okay, so they've done a lot of things for their people.
By more than any country in the history of civilization, this guy? Now, keep in mind, I actually always I disagreed with Bernie Sanders, but never fancied him to be stupid. You know what I mean? Like I never thought, Bernie Sanders sometimes can be a menacing individual because at least he comes across like he is convicted and knows what he's talking about, at least from the left point of view. Like he's like the expert on the left brand. But I really never thought I'd hear anybody say that the Chinese system has been really great for people. That's really crazy. So your phone calls are welcome on that 844-855-1380. It's the calltammy.com real estate listener line. And by the way, I'm looking at the ratings. I've been talking about this for quite some time now regarding the ratings for Fox News, and the new ones just came out. And this is why, when I talk about Shepard Smith and Chris Wallace and even sometimes Brett Baer and all these other whiners out there who complain about the opinion side of Fox News, and they constantly try to act like they're not really opinion and they're not this, and they're embarrassed by the opinion people on Fox News. Well, they ought to be, again, every time Tucker Carlson or Laura Ingraham or Sean Hannity walks through the door, they ought to be on their knees worshiping the ground that they walk on. And it's so interesting how even Fox News actually, I'm all for freedom of speech and that kind of thing, but Fox News ought to tell people like Shepard Smith and like Chris Wallace to kind of shut up about the opinion people on the news, because no one's watching Shepard Smith. There are some people watching Fox News Sunday, but no one's and Cavuto and all that other garbage out there. But no one really is engaged in these shows the way they are the evening shows. So Tucker Carlson, even though people have tried to run him out and boycotted him and done this kind of thing, he still is averaging 3.11 million total viewers in August and 500K in the coveted demo, the 2554 demo. And he actually was down a little bit from July, but August is a terrible month for the media, a terrible month for radio. It's a terrible month for TV in terms of ratings. That's why in the business, I've been in the TV and radio business a long time, nobody pays attention to summer ratings because people aren't engaged. They're not in radio. They're not with the kids in the car in the morning. And so listenership tends to be down. People are busy. August is a terrible month because of vacations and that kind of thing, which is why you see a lot of media people taking the August off, because it's a time when everybody's kind of refocused on things. So given that, Carlson is kicking some butt, considering, and just wait until the fall. Wait until September when everybody's back to their normal things. So Carlson's show is number 2 in cable news overall. Sean Hannity, number 1. And look at how many people hate this guy, and how these people in Fox News, some of them even disparage Sean Hannity. But Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson and also Laura Ingraham, who's number 3, they're paying the bills over at Fox News. They're the ones who are paying the freight over there. If it weren't for them and their advertisers, these other people wouldn't have jobs, or maybe they still would have jobs, because just look at CNN. You don't have to have ratings to have jobs, I guess. It's interesting. So that's the top three. You've got Hannity, Carlson, and Ingram. And then the fourth show is The Five. So that continues to beat even the primetime programming at 5 on the part of the networks, which oftentimes is news or whatever else. So this is another month on top for Fox News, the most total day viewers in all of basic cable, which is menacing because that means some of them are watching Shepard Smith. But the reality is, don't be confused. Total day viewers is a total day view. So you're talking about like a Wednesday, and a Wednesday includes nighttime as day. Just telling you. So it's for the 38th straight month. Rachel Maddow's show came in at number 5 with an average 2.3 million viewers. So Rachel Maddow is still formidable there. She's number 5 at least, and yet Maddow's show doubles Chris Cuomo's show. So nobody's watching that guy's show. Meanwhile, there's an interesting race between Shannon Bream and Brian Williams. Now imagine, you're Shannon Bream, who's a very nice person and very smart. I like her a lot and have interviewed her before. And she's kind of it's hard for Shannon to break through to a certain degree because there's so many other talents out there, and McCallum and some of these other folks out there. It's kind of hard to pop through. Anyway, Williams only narrowly beat that 11 p.m. time slot that Shannon Bream has. So you've got a relatively unknown person, although Shannon Bream to all of you is not unknown, a relatively unknown person who is beating. Although Brian Williams' reputation has taken quite a beating lately because he's just an addicted liar. But when you look at these ratings here, I think at that point, if I'm Fox News' top brass, I'm telling Brett Baer and Shepard Smith and Chris Wallace to knock it off. I'm telling them to shut their traps a little bit here and understand who's pulling the freight. I don't see ratings for the morning. I don't know. I imagine that race is probably a lot tighter. I still think Fox and Friends prevails at that particular time period. So just keep that in mind as you watch some of these guys try to jump ship and act like they don't know the top 3 in the lineup there at Fox News. So congrats to all of them who are well deserving of their top spot there. Yesterday, switching gears to St. Louis, an interesting thing happened yesterday, and it gave me a little bit of a pause because this was a typical, what I thought initially was a passive-aggressive move on the part of the Missouri Black Caucus. This was in reaction to the violence. I was reading a little bit yesterday about all of the deaths of these young people, these kids, and it's just been terrible. And so the Missouri Black Caucus challenged Governor Parson to have a special session on gun violence. And Parson's like, no, we're not doing that. My initial reaction to it was, wait a minute. That's the response of the Black Caucus, is to send it all down to Jefferson City? That's disappointing to me. These people who have these people dying in their communities suddenly then act as if it's up to Governor Parson. Then they can say that racist Governor Parson doesn't want to do anything about black crime. It's like that happens all the time, it seems. These people are able to slough off the blame. Now, I'm not saying that the Black Caucus is to blame for the violence, but stop with the finger pointing always away from you. Happens all the time. You think that the violence across the country in Baltimore, in Detroit, in St. Louis, whatever, is all racist Trump's fault, the way people talk. Then I dug deeper into what the Congressional Black Caucus wanted, and I still think it's incongruent with what the people in these neighborhoods want. I remember that a while back they had a town hall meeting in North St. Louis, and the town hall meeting was supposedly designed to talk about gun control and gun violence. And the people showed up at the town hall meeting and said, this isn't about guns. This is about neighborhoods. This is about families. This is about our own trouble, our pathologies that are causing violence. This isn't about guns. So people came out and actually said that. So even still, what the Black Caucus wanted was for the Missouri legislature to take up, and that's Steve Roberts, who's actually he's actually a pretty good guy. But anyway, Steve Roberts Jr., I believe. But he was the one who was accused of rape by the Post-Dispatch. Turned out it wasn't true. It's like, oh, well, on to something else. Anyway, they wanted the state to allow municipalities to pass their own gun legislation. Now, I'm an avid supporter of the Second Amendment, and I'm trying to figure out, and I realize everything seems to be a slippery slope. So you never know about how that's going to all go down. But I do wonder whether or not there's, for instance, if the people in North St. Louis and some of these municipalities or some of these places want to change their gun laws, is that something that you could tolerate as a Second Amendment advocate? And what would be the problem with that necessarily? I don't know. I believe gun laws do not work. Chicago's a great example. They have the strictest gun laws in the land, and they still have the highest level of violence in the land. So I don't know. I don't think you can say that a municipality changing its own gun laws. And once again, though, these folks are barking up a tree that is not holding the fruit that they really need to eat. That's a weird analogy, because presumably when you bark up a tree, you're not trying to get fruit off the tree, right? I don't know. So that didn't make any sense. Sorry. But you know what I'm talking about. Well, maybe that's what, maybe we now know what barking up a tree really is, that the dog is trying to get an apple to fall from the tree to eat, because dogs are vegetarians. Maybe that's actually that the dog isn't barking, because people wonder, like, what are you barking at? Like, there's nothing we can see that they're barking at. So maybe actually I'm more right than I am wrong. You see how I pulled victory out of the jaws of defeat there? Well, you know what I'm saying, though, is that, and if I were a dog, I'd bark at everything. I'm telling you. That's all I do. Scare people and slink around. And I would say, as a dog, I'm just kidding. In dog language. I'm just kidding. It's kind of that kind of thing. Oh, yeah, I'd do all kinds of crazy things if I were a dog. And I would bark up a tree and try to menace the apple into dropping it in my mouth. Nonetheless, what they're doing is they are looking in the wrong directions. And that's the problem with our politicians, our elected politicians, is that they constantly look for solutions that aren't the solutions. And the reason they do it is because that means they don't have to do anything. And so it's disappointing a little bit that the Black Caucus decided they were going to make this all about Governor Parson or Republicans. And now the headlines in the news is that Parson rejects acting on gun violence. Like, what are you people doing? You're down there in these beautiful painted ballrooms down there, and you know what they're doing down there is they're holding. I guarantee you, some of these guys, they're holding fundraisers down there tonight. I'm not kidding you. I'll talk about that in just a little bit. 844-855-1380. It's the calltammy.com real estate listener line.
Call the show at 844-855-1380 and interact with Jamie on the calltammy.com listener line. That's 844-855-1380. More Allman in the Morning next on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer. Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Still no delays and no problems, with the exception of construction. Now, one project that kicked in a little while ago, 255 northbound and southbound, either way, between Musette Lane and Collinsville Road. You'll see road work until 9 o'clock this morning. We've also got the King Bridge closed in both directions with road work until the end of September. And the exit ramp from eastbound 70 to Madison closed with roadwork until the end of September. And midday roadwork today, 9 to 4. You'll see construction on westbound 70 on the Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge. That's traffic. I'm Bonnie Green. On 1380 and 105.3 The Answer. Online at theanswerstl.com.
I'm Gia Valenti, and I personally invite you to tune into my show, Moxie Minutes with Gia, Saturday mornings at 10 to learn about all things parenting. Moxie Minutes with Gia is the closest you'll get to that manual that doesn't come with your kids. Parenting experts will join me to discuss sleep habits, homework, mental health, and so much more. Submit your questions on Facebook at the Learn with Moxie Facebook page and tune in to Moxie Minutes with Gia every Saturday morning at 10. Brought to you by Gold Shield Security, real police officers who are there when you need them.
If you want to be successful in business, surround yourself with good people. If you want to be a successful contractor, then you've got to team up with the right supplier. Rick Pogue here. Arrowhead Building Supply understands the minute your day starts, time is money. With our exclusive 315 service platform, we offer 3-hour delivery to your job site or 15-minute pickup on anything in stock, be it siding, roofing, decks, windows, doors, gutters, or even stone. By the way, you will talk to a real person when you call Arrowhead. No voicemail. Call or stop by the location near you and let us help you grow your business today. ArrowheadBuildingSupply.com.
Hi, this is Dr. Badan. Join me on Need, Want, Love, Wellness, Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. We're going to be talking about your health, things to get you from awareness into action and how to change your life in a way that's never been discussed before so that you can then figure out exactly what's going on for you to best suit your lifestyle to get you back to doing the things that you need to do, want to do, and love to do within your life. So join me, Dr. Badan, on Need, Want, Love, Wellness, Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
Interested in purchasing a silencer? Stop by and talk to the pros at Razorback Armory, the region's only full-service, silver-level silencer shop dealer. With our state-of-the-art all-digital process, we will be with you every step of the way. For your account setup, fingerprints, photographs, and federal forms. All are done promptly and professionally in shop while you wait. Stop in and check out our vast selection of silencers and other NFA items at Razorback Armory, located just east of 270 on Manchester Road in De Pere, and online at razorbackarmory.com.
Saturday mornings at 9 are now all about the house. Do you ever wish you could get an hour with a general contractor or building inspector to ask all your home maintenance questions? Well, About the House with Troy Galloway is exactly that. Every Saturday morning at 9, Troy Galloway will spend an hour giving home advice and taking your questions. Submit your questions now on Facebook at the Galloway Building Services Facebook page. And tune in to About the House with Troy Galloway every Saturday morning at 9 on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
In the midst of all the uncertainty around us, we all need a refuge, a place to call home. Come home to St. Matthew in Belleville. 9 a.m. is our blended service with a 70-voice sanctuary choir and orchestra. Our contemporary service is at 11 a.m. led by our praise band. Make St. Matt's a great start to your week. I'm Scott Ferguson, Director of Outreach, and I can't wait to see you Sunday. For more information, visit us at stmatthewumc.org.
This Labor Day weekend, get major savings on men's and women's Levi's denim. Plus, save on select home items like mattresses, towels, and more. Get grand old savings this Thursday through Monday at JCPenney.
Are you looking for your dream home, but it doesn't seem to exist? You've tried to figure it out on your own, but don't know what step to take next? Don't worry, I'm Tammy, owner of Tammy Mitchell Hines & Company Real Estate, and my team and I are ready to help ease that stress. Go to calltammy.com to set up your stress-free appointment today. Give me an idea of what you're looking for, and we will do the rest. If you buy or sell a house with me, you can use my moving truck for free. Go to calltammy.com.
KXFN, St. Louis, K287BY, St. Louis.
Are you unhappily single? Does your marriage or relationship feel hard? I get a lot of emails from readers who are struggling in their marriage or relationship. Unfortunately, the help an individual or couple needs can rarely be answered in a series of emails. For this reason, I offer relationship coaching for those who are struggling to find love and for couples whose marriage or relationship feels stuck in a negative cycle. Go to SuzanneBanker.com and sign up today for a coaching session with me and learn the tools you need to find love and sustain it. It's so much easier than you think. That's SuzanneBanker.com.
Hey, want to talk with Jamie? Call 844-855-1380. 844-855-1380. And interact with Common Sense Radio. This is Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
dogs really like this song. It's called Chasing Cars, so when they're hanging out together, they all flip on the radio. And like when the dog has a little date or something, he'll put on Chasing Cars on the old record player, and boom, it works like a charm every time. Good morning, Josh is on line 1. How are you, my friend? What's up?
Hi, Jamie. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Good morning.
So I just had a comment on the issue about municipalities passing their own gun laws. I mean, ultimately, that just leads to more confusion, for people being persecuted and prosecuted for things that aren't really a crime. It's going to back up the courts. It just makes gun ownership harder. And, I mean, that seems to me what the left aims to do. And the other thing was, I talked to you a few weeks ago about the red flag laws and sent you a couple tweets to back up what I had told you. I was curious if you saw those.
I didn't see the tweets, but I think you were right on about all that stuff. It clearly is a slippery slope. Imagine me driving around, because I keep guns in my car. Imagine me driving around and I suddenly wind up, for instance, in Pagedale on my way to the airport, whatever. And suddenly I've got a gun in the car, and I can't have that. I'm suddenly now facing 2 years in prison because I came from Clayton to Pagedale, and suddenly I'm violating municipal laws that cost me money. So I think you're right on about that. And besides that, it's not the answer, as we know. These guys always come up with answers that are far from them having to really do anything about it. And them standing there in that beautiful painted room down in Jeff City isn't helping their constituencies, I guarantee you. Bob, hang on the line if you can. I got to take this break here.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Tropical storm Dorian is on the move. Its sights set on Puerto Rico, where the rain is already falling.
Tropical storm Dorian is expected to start affecting the island of St. Croix at about 8 a.m. in the morning with tropical storm force winds. And then a few hours later, around noon or early in the afternoon, reaching the eastern and northeastern part of the big island of Puerto Rico.
Jose Alamo with the National Weather Service. National Hurricane Center's Dave Roberts says that parts of the southeast U.S. may take a hit this coming weekend.
It encompasses the entire Florida peninsula, from the Big Bend area or Tallahassee and northward up to portions of Georgia and South Carolina.
But it's still very early, so stay tuned. OxyContin maker Purdue Pharma reportedly offering up to $12 billion to settle opioid-related lawsuits. Companies in talks with state attorneys general and lawyers representing local governments. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson asking the Queen to suspend Parliament as the Brexit deadline looms.
Johnson's timing on pushing for an early halt to parliamentary business will have the effect of squeezing the time opposition lawmakers have left to thwart a no-deal Brexit before the October 31 deadline for Britain to leave the EU. Now the British currency has fallen sharply, a sign investors are alarmed by the prospect of Britain falling out of the bloc without a divorce deal.
That's correspondent Charles De Ledesma. Homeland Security shifting $271 million to help secure the southern border, as well as to provide care for non-citizens. On Wall Street, stock futures, which had been higher, now in the red. Dow futures down 81 points. NASDAQ futures off 22, and S&P futures 7 points lower. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Well, all of a sudden, a flurry of activity. We've got 2 accidents reported. 6455 westbound at the Poplar Street Bridge. That's reported there. Backup starts at 64, so there's something there. And 6440 eastbound, accident reported after Timberlake Manor Parkway, and you are starting to slow down at Chesterfield Parkway West. 270 northbound, Teston Ferry to Manchester. That's heavy now. 44 eastbound Bowles to 270, slowing there through the roadwork. And 64 westbound 25th Street to 55. That's traffic. I'm Bonnie Green. On 1380 and 105.3 The Answer. Online at theanswerstl.com.
1380 The Answer. Weather.
Sunny and pleasant today. A comfortable 82 degrees as your high. Clear tonight. Low 64. Sunny and pleasant for Thursday. High 86. Into Friday, a little bit warmer, humid, intervals of clouds and sunshine. Expect a thunderstorm in the area in the afternoon. High 87. Some sun on Saturday. High 82. I'm Maddie Baggett with your St. Louis Metro forecast on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
All right, friends, Matthew Mitchell and the Matthew Mitchell Allstate Agency. If you are looking for an alternative to, well, the insurance company that keeps refusing to pay you, that fights you every step of the way whenever you dare file a claim, then you need to move away from that insurance company. You might have, a lot of people grow up and grow into the world thinking that, oh yeah, no, insurance company, it's really hard. I understand why they don't want to pay. And listen, insurance companies aren't giving away money. But here's the bottom line. The Allstate Agency, the largest publicly traded company in the land, is dedicated to being an insurance company. So that's why when they give you low premiums, they can give you low deductibles at the same time as well, because they don't want to fight you every step of the way. They want to be an insurance company. They just don't want to keep on filling up their till with your premiums and never paying you anything. And yeah, everybody is discerning when it comes to paying insurance claims. I get that. But the Allstate Agency doesn't make it impossible for you to actually file a claim. So that's the Matthew Mitchell Allstate Agency. 855-QUOTE-ME is the number, with low premiums, low deductibles on home and auto, and also very inexpensive deals when it comes to young drivers, which traditionally cost a lot of money. Not with Matthew Mitchell. 70 years of experience with the people there, and they're working for a company that gives them all the freedom in the world to make you happy and be real insurance agents for you. 855-QUOTE-ME. That's 855-QUOTE-ME.
This Labor Day weekend, get major savings on men's and women's Levi's denim. Plus, save on select home items like mattresses, towels, and more. Get grand old savings this Thursday through Monday at JCPenney.
This portion of the Allman in the Morning Show is brought to you in part by Suntrip Volvo Cars, West County. Visit WCVolvoCars.com.
Common Sense Radio with Allman in the morning on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
Give me land, lots of land, and the starry skies above. Don't fence me in. Let me ride through the wide open country that I love. Don't fence me in. Let me be by myself in
All right, coming up,
Brett
Bedbug Stevens has a meltdown, and you should hear him talk about why he just abandoned Twitter and how insulting it was for him. And then he said he invited the guy to his house so he could say it to his face. And my reaction is, well, if that guy won't do it, I will. Can I come to your house and say it to your face? It's unbelievable. It's so weird. The guy's so strange anyway, but he's the resident neocon never Trumper at the New York Times, and was spent the most of the weekend talking about how unstable President Trump is. Well, let me tell you something. It's pretty unstable, Bedbug Brett. Tell you that. Bob's on line 2. Bobby, thanks for holding on. How you doing?
Good morning, young man. Love your show as always.
Thank you, brother. Yes.
No, you go ahead.
I'm honored you say that. I appreciate that very much, and thanks for sticking with me.
You bet. Hey, so I wouldn't watch Shepard Smith if he had porn flicks going in the background, I'll tell you. Chris Wallace, words. Maria Bartolomo, she is great on Sunday morning's Futures. And I really enjoy her. She has a unique perspective. She goes over the economy. She goes over politics. And who needs Chris Wallace anyway?
Yeah.
That's my comment.
Well, I loved it.
We all need you.
I love Maria. I even loved it when she was on with me on a regular basis back in the day, and we'll get back there at some point. But she filled in for Cavuto for a while, and boy, was that so refreshing, because Cavuto's just a namby-pamby, annoying, talks over everybody kind of never Trumper type of guy. And Maria Bartiromo isn't necessarily always in the tank for President Trump, but she always has a factual basis on which to make strong economic defenses of the president's policies, and is informative. I mean, I totally agree with you about her.
Yeah, I really like her. I don't I don't watch Fox in the afternoon. I just put Hannity's radio show on. And then I go to Carlson, and I call them the Big Three in the evening. So
yeah,
anyway,
boy,
you have a good.
Okay.
Tammy, God bless you.
Thank you, Bobby.
And I'll talk to you.
All right, you too. Yeah, those three shows are just those are the solid rock right there. And Fox and Friends is some of the, but they're still kind of tied into the whole morning thing, so they still have to, show us, people eating pancakes at diners, that kind of stuff. Still, and I get it. All right, so on to Brett Stevens. This was the funny thing of the day, and also, by the way, you see Dave Chappelle, who I like. I think Dave Chappelle is very funny. Actually, Aiden loves Dave Chappelle too. And Chappelle has no airs when it comes to talking about race. And, by the way, he was a supporter of Colin Kaepernick. They both received an award or something from Harvard, what have you. And he went off on one of his performances, and he went off on the so-called cancel culture. The left-wing mobs that continue to run after people. So I'll get to that. It's a very interesting thing. But let's get to Bedbug Brett here. So Brett Stevens, he gets involved in this situation where he was suddenly faced with this guy, some professor. And keep in mind, the New York Times, in this really twisted way, had some kind of bedbug problem at their offices. Like, they had to have the offices of the New York Times fumigated for bedbugs, which is really weird. Anybody can have bedbugs, and oddly enough, but it's kind of just weird that the New York Times had a bedbug problem. There's something about that seems congruent. And technically, a bedbug lays in the fabric and harms people by being invisible, so to speak. And the New York Times harms people by being invisible in a way in which it couches itself as the old gray lady. It couches itself as just this, we're just the standard bearer of journalism. We're this, when really, actually, they are bedbugs. And what they're doing through their reporting and through their non-objectivity is kind of biting us and harming us and laying in wait and sucking our blood, whatever bedbugs do. So anyway, Brett Stevens, some guy goes on, he's a professor. Brett Stevens, the professor tweets him, but then when I say tweets him, he didn't even tweet Brett Stevens. He didn't do at Brett Stevens, New York Times. As you all know, Brett Stevens is this really super annoying little jackass who appears on MSNBC or CNN. I don't remember what network it is, to always trash Trump. He's a neocon. He's a guy who can't stand Trump and does it from the standpoint of Trump having a lack of judgment or being unfit or unstable or whatever. That's been Brett Stevens' thing. So he's really but he's the resident Republican there, much like what's her face is Jennifer Rubin's the resident Republican at the Washington Post. They couldn't be far from honest Republicans in that level. So anyway, he's just an annoying little fop. So this professor, and it's so funny, he didn't even do the at Brett Stevens. So somehow Brett Stevens found out this guy just mentioned his name and said Brett Stevens was a bedbug. So he didn't even tweet. So what does he get? He gets an email from Brett Stevens challenging him, and I'll explain it here. And then he also emails the guy's boss to remind him, this is what your employee's doing out there. He's making comparisons. And somehow he says calling people insects is reminiscent of the Holocaust or whatever it happens to be. Well, we know a bedbug is not what they use. Termite, like the word used by Leonard Pitts to describe a Jewish guy who exposes the media, that's borderline right there when you call somebody termites. That's what Farrakhan did. But just calling somebody an insect like any insect is not necessarily really that disparaging. Anyway, Stevens flips out. He's on MSNBC, and he's asked about this. Listen to this guy, and imagine this guy. This guy's a grown man. He's 45 years old, and what a little baby he is. This is the guy, the go-to guy to tell you how unstable Donald Trump is. And you couldn't get more unstable than this.
Your Twitter account after a controversy that involved someone calling you a name. Would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, I'm going to be careful with my words because I know these are going to be examined carefully. So I think Twitter brings out the worst in its users. It tends to bring out the worst in its users. And yesterday, a professor at George Washington University described me as a bedbug or a metaphorical bedbug, just in the context of the New York Times having a bedbug problem in our building. And I think that kind of rhetoric is dehumanizing and totally unacceptable, no matter where it comes from.
Listen to this guy. He goes on and says that President Trump is psychotic, and what is more dehumanizing than what Brett Stevens has talked about President Trump on a constant basis? I don't like that whole dehumanizing thing anyway. People hide behind that all the time. But nonetheless, if you're going to say people are dehumanizing when you're dehumanizing the President of the United States on a regular basis for profit, that rings a little hollow here. But this is a grown man here.
So I wrote him a personal email. I didn't go to Twitter. I wrote him a personal email, which I think was very civil, saying that I did appreciate it, that I would welcome him to come to my home in New York, meet with my family, and see if he would call me a bedbug to my face. Because a lot of the things people say on social media aren't the things they're really prepared to say in one-on-one.
I'll do it. Can I do it? By the way, Phil, I know you're on Twitter a lot. Did anybody say they would come to his house? Like, no?
No.
Really?
I'm surprised, too, yeah. Maybe those people got shadow banned or blocked, who knows. But he was getting totally trashed on Twitter.
As well, he should. He's going to be humiliated.
Yeah, he said that Twitter brings out the worst in people. I disagree. I think Twitter brings out the worst people, and that's the difference. Is he's not much on Twitter. So
yeah, you're right. But that's a proper, precise example of that, because there are a lot of good people on Twitter, and there are a lot of people are cutting through the BS a lot on Twitter. They're exposing things on Twitter. I'm glad there are people who are riding Brett Stevens like a rented mule on Twitter. So it doesn't. I think you're right. It doesn't bring out the worst in people. It brings out the worst people. And plus, I'm just not on it because of and I didn't really even like it when I was doing it. And it's not only because of the David Hogg thing, who, by the way, I didn't actually even tweet at him. And that became a thing. I was fired over just mentioning his name. And they over a propped up fake accusation. And he didn't even care about it. That's how crazy that was. But the worst people were on Twitter at the time, and still are, and caught it and made a thing out of it, and a fake trumped up thing that they'll, well, at least their leader will eventually pay for. But still, I'm glad they're doing that. But maybe that's because people wouldn't want to be perceived as being a threat. Because if I said, I'll come to your house, is that a threat? Because he invited this guy to his house, so apparently Brett Stevens is more than happy to have an open house for people who think he's a bedbug, and I'll do that. But imagine being his wife, you know what I mean? It's not just him inviting someone to his house, but imagine being the wife of a 45-year-old man who spends countless times chasing after some guy who called him a bedbug, didn't even tweet him, and now goes on the air and whines about being called a bedbug and makes up these stories about how it's anti-Semitic or whatever else. It's like, golly, imagine him walking through the door in the evenings. He's like, ugh. Even his kids are probably like, Dad, you're such a pansy.
Things people say on social media aren't the things they're really prepared to say in one-on-one interactions. I also copied his provost on the note. People are...
That seems to be kind of a little threat, though, when you're saying he can come to my house and say it to my face. Like, what is Brett Stevens going to do? Because I'd gladly call him a bedbug. I'd call him a lot more. I wouldn't call him things, but I would tell him how I feel about it. Anyway, then he emailed his
about this.
provost.
I want to be clear. I had no intention whatsoever to get him in any kind of professional trouble, but it is the case at the New York Times and other institutions that people should be aware, managers should be aware of the way in which their people, their professors or journalists,
candy-ass little bedbug,
interact with the rest of the world. That's certainly the case with me at the New York Times. My editors are always aware of what I'm saying, and I've sometimes been called to account, rightly so. He then posted my email on Twitter, so people are free to go and look at what I had to say. All I would say is that using dehumanizing rhetoric like bedbugs or, analogizing people to insects is always wrong. We can do better. We should be the people on social media that we are.
Can you believe this guy? Okay, I mean, I can't. I mean, I hope to the Lord that this guy doesn't have boys. Oh my goodness gracious, and no offense to his kids, but boy, I hope he's not raising men, because they're in the wrong family, the wrong dad. I mean, the insect thing I've never really even considered, I'm sure he'll have a lot to say about Leonard Pitts calling a Jewish guy a termite, though, just aping the language of Farrakhan.
In real life.
I would agree with that final statement for sure. Is that the worst thing that you have ever been called on social media?
There's a bad history of being called.
I mean, even the anchor's like, really? You're really that upset over being called a bedbug? I mean, this anchor who's, I think she's one of the most far left people on the planet, but you're really that concerned about it? Listen to her. I love this. It's good for her.
We are in real life.
I would agree with that final statement for sure. Is that the worst thing that you have ever been called on social media?
There's a bad history.
I mean, she's like looking around the studio. You know how it is when people are like, really, when that's their general attitude is, really? Looking around the studio like, am I really sitting here with this guy?
She did that thing at the end when her voice goes up at the end, which I normally hate when people do it, but I love it at this point here.
Yeah.
It sounds like she's calling him out.
It's the human resources tone of voice.
Right, yeah.
Is this the worst thing you've been called? Right. I agree with this. Yeah. Is this really the worst thing you've been called? She's embarrassed.
Final statement for sure. Is that the worst thing that you have ever been called on social media?
There's a bad history.
She's smiling, laughing at him, deriding him, performing castration surgery right there on the MSNBC anchor desk.
Being called, being analogized to insects that goes back to a lot of totalitarian regimes in the past. I've been called worse. I wrote this guy a personal note. Now it's out there for everyone to see.
Yeah. Totalitarian regimes. What a baby. Wow. That's probably one of the weirdest things I've seen in a long time. 844-855-1380. The call, Tammy.com, real estate listener line.
More Allman in the morning coming up on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer. Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
All of a sudden, a flurry of accidents. 55 westbound at the Poplar Street Bridge, a left lane blocked there with an accident. The backup starts at 64. And 6440 eastbound, your stop and go from Chesterfield Parkway West to after Timberlake Manor, where a right lane is blocked with a crash. We've also got reports of an accident on 70 eastbound before Hughes, and there's a backup there that starts at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Stop and go on 270 northbound, Tesson Ferry to Manchester, westbound Old Halls Ferry to West Florissant, 6440 eastbound, 170 to Big Bend. That's traffic. I'm Bonnie Green. On 1380 and 105.3 The Answer. Online at theanswerstl.com.
This Labor Day weekend, Get major savings on men's and women's Levi's denim. Plus, save on select home items like mattresses, towels, and more. Get grand old savings this Thursday through Monday at JCPenney.
Smash here, St. Louis. People's Praise Party is going to help you better your day and better yourself with the best variety of gospel and praise party music this side of the anywhere. And I'm going to run some testimony at you that's going to sanctify you. Sunday mornings, 11 a.m. It's the People's Praise Party where the word is in the music. Right here at 1380 a.m. and 105.3 FM. The Answer.
Never paint again. This is Darren, owner of Rhino Shield. Want to eliminate painting your home, business, or church? Call the experts at Rhino Shield. Rhino Shield is a revolutionary ceramic wall coating to regular paint and vinyl. Perfect for aluminum, steel, unpainted brick, block, stucco, ephes, drive-it, cement board, and wood sidings. Rhino Shield eliminates wasting time and money painting year after year. Our ceramic coating deflects 90% of the sun's UV rays and 100% of the moisture. Our clients want affordable protection with the elimination of maintenance. Rhino Shield protects your biggest investment while maintaining your architectural features and gives you the curb appeal you deserve. Make your home great again by working with the Rhino Shield experts. A+ rated with the BBB. Call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Hi, this is Scott Ferguson, the Director of Outreach at St. Matthew. There's something exciting happening at St. Matt's, and I'd like to invite you to experience it. We have a service at 9 a.m. with a 70-voice sanctuary choir and orchestra, and our contemporary service at 11 a.m. with our praise band. We can't wait to see you there. For more information, visit us at stmatthewumc.org.
Hi, this is Gia, the host of Moxie Minutes with Gia, and you might be wondering why I even do this radio thing. Ultimately, my show is all about communication and education. I founded Learn with Moxie to help our kids to become better communicators in a screen-obsessed world. If you're interested in getting to Learn with Moxie curriculum in your school, contact me at learnwithmoxie.com. That's learnwithmoxie.com. And as always, keep talking.
You've had your new truck for a few weeks now. Looks good. But now you're realizing running boards would make your ride look great. Since you're gonna buy a boat, you need a hitch. Oh, and what about a floor liner? Let's keep it looking nice. Stop by Custom Car and Truck in O'Fallon, Illinois. Selling top brands for trucks like Buck Shields, step bars, and bed liners for over 20 years. See John and the crew off Highway 50 in O'Fallon, Illinois, or online at CustomCarAndTruck.com. Now with free installation and a lifetime warranty on vent visors and Buck Shields.
Hey, don't just listen to Allman in the Morning. See the show at theanswerstl.com. Now, more Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
I met her in the club down in Old Soho, where you drink champagne and it tastes just like cherry cola. C-O-L-A cola. She walked up to me and she asked me to dance. I asked her her name and in a dark brown voice she said Lola. L-O-L-A-Lola.
You know, it's so funny. This reminds me a little bit now that Jamal is on the line here on line one. And thanks for calling the show, Jamal. It reminds me of when Cuomo said being called Fredo was akin to being called the N-word. And most black people out there were like going, no, that's not. And now you've got another white guy, another white liberal guiltist out there who is acting like being called a bed bug is akin to being called like the Jews in the Holocaust or whatever, being oppressed in totalitarian regimes. And Jamal is once again on the line begging to differ. How you doing, buddy?
What's going on, man?
How are you, brother?
How you doing?
I still owe you a phone call. We'll get to it. Just been lots of things going on lately.
I know. I left my number on there, so you just give me a buzz whenever you get a chance.
Right on, my friend.
All right, so let's dig into this one real quick. Okay, so he's saying he's being a bed bug is being called something, being, I guess, put into a position where the Holocaust people, for Jewish Holocaust people were. Let's think about that. Now, the Jewish people were murdered.
Oh, yes.
Enslaved, beaten, starved, experimented on. Does that kind of put into the same profile as being called a bed bug? Somebody help me understand.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, yeah.
So what really gets to me is that then he had the nerve to say that if he wanted to come to his house and talk to him face to face and call him that. Now let's look at that. In today's day and age, maybe back then it was okay, but today's day and age, these people will take the challenge. These people have gone to the point of mad. If they're going to do mass shootings in a Walmart, you're willing to take the risk of this man might losing his brain control and come to your house and beat you in front of your children, probably to death. That's something you just do not do. You take it like a grain of salt. You throw it over your shoulder and walk on. Because we can't afford to take, especially in today's society, you really can't do that. But you're willing to take the risk of bringing this man to your house. That's stupidity at its finest, and you taking it, and really you taking something that's really stupid. You should just laugh it off. I've been called worse.
Oh, well, I'm sure you have.
I just laugh. Most of the time, I just laugh at people and keep it moving. Why? Because sometimes it's funny.
Half the time, you probably
like, okay.
Yeah, half the time you probably prefer bed bug over what you've had to deal with, Jamal. Thanks for calling the show, man. I got to take a break here. 844-855-1380.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. Tropical storm Dorian is on the move. Its sights set on Puerto Rico, where the rain is already falling. The National Hurricane Center says that parts of the southeast U.S. could take a hit from the storm this coming weekend. OxyContin maker Purdue Pharma reportedly offering up to $12 billion to settle opioid-related lawsuits. The company negotiating with state attorneys general and lawyers for local governments. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson asking the Queen to suspend Parliament as the Brexit deadline looms. And Homeland Security shifting $271 million to help secure the southern border, as well as providing care for non-citizens. Wall Street stock futures in the red. Dow futures down about 94 points. NASDAQ futures off 36. S&P futures down 10 points. More details at srnnews.com.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
3 accidents now causing big problems. 55 westbound is jammed up from 64 to the Poplar Street Bridge where left lane is blocked. And 6440 eastbound, you're solid from Chesterfield Airport Road to before Boone's Crossing. 2 left lanes blocked. Traffic just getting through in the right lane. We can see that one from the jam cam at Boone's Crossing. 70 eastbound before Hughes, left lane blocked there with an accident. That's a huge delay that starts back at Route A. Your stop and go on 270 northbound, 55 to Manchester, and 70 eastbound Blanchette Bridge to St. Charles Rock Road. That's traffic. I'm Bonnie Green. On 1380 and 105.3 The Answer. Online at theanswerstl.com.
1380 The Answer. Weather.
Sunny and pleasant today. A comfortable 82 degrees as your high. Clear tonight. Low 64. Sunny and pleasant for Thursday. High 86 into Friday. A little bit warmer. Humid intervals of clouds and sunshine. Expect a thunderstorm in the area in the afternoon. High 87. Some sun on Saturday. High 82. I'm Maddie Baggett with your St. Louis Metro forecast on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you when it comes to Michael's Flooring Outlet, if you go to michaelsflooringoutlet.com and you're able to see the variety that is up there on the website, you're going to see the $500 off coupon. You're going to see the incredible value that working with Michael on any kind of business or home project will actually be. And so when it comes to the quality of what he carries, when it comes to the installation, when it comes to the customer service, when it comes to the variety, and certainly when it comes to the pricing, there is no better person to deal with in town for your flooring than Michael's Flooring Outlet at michaelsflooringoutlet.com. He's got 4 locations, and every single one has the Michael's Flooring Outlet brand associated with it. So these folks, it doesn't matter which one you go to, you're going to get the same stellar service and the same stellar quality, the same stellar variety. And what's great is you can start shopping right there on the web, michaelsflooringoutlet.com, and you begin with this great coupon, and then you're able to get off to the races on that. But that's where you can really start to begin to shop and kind of see what you kind of like and see what's floating your boat. And there's also a chat capability there, so you can talk to somebody about it. If you have any questions, you can actually talk to somebody live on the website as well. So check it out on the web. It's michaelsflooringoutlet.com. That's michaelsflooringoutlet.com.
Let's face it, we love Alexa, and we love to let her find your favorite radio station. This one, of course. We love it, too, when she finds us. But she could find us easier if we taught her a simple skill. To get started, simply say, Alexa, enable the Answer St. Louis skill. After she confirms, you can then say, Alexa, play the Answer St. Louis. That's all you have to do, and Alexa will learn how to find us. You can listen to us through your Amazon Echo, Echo Show, Echo Dot, and Amazon Tap devices. Alexa, what is your favorite radio station?
That's easy. 1380 and 105.3, The Answer.
This Labor Day weekend, get major savings on men's and women's Levi's denim. Plus, save on select home items like mattresses, towels, and more. Get grand old savings this Thursday through Monday at JCPenney.
This portion of the Allman in the Morning Show is brought to you in part by Suntrip Volvo Cars, West County. Visit WCVolvoCars.com.
Listen to Allman in the Morning with Alexa. Wake up and say, Alexa, play the Answer St. Louis. Now, back to Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3, The Answer.
Yeah, Mark Kaysen was like, well, they call the Jews vermin. I guess that's true. And the only reason termite became a thing is because Farrakhan called Jews termites, and then was summarily, basically, the Leonard Pitts, the liberal black columnist with the Miami Herald, repeated that again in describing a Jewish guy who was exposing the media. I mean, I guess you could call this a little nitpicky. I don't believe sometimes that even I believe people talk about things, but not everything is the Holocaust. It kind of is getting ridiculous after a little while. Dave Chappelle, by the way, pointed out the circus that is the left-wing mob. And sometimes there's a right-wing mob, too. They go after people. But the problem is what happens is a guy like Leonard Pitts, he runs around calling everybody racist. When you're adapting racist tropes, it kind of raises alarms. When you're sitting there talking about every column of yours is how much of a racist Donald Trump is and a racist that. When you're starting to adopt racist Farrakhan language to describe a Jewish guy, it tends to kind of shine a beacon on you. I don't think it's necessarily nitpicky at all. By the way, Maxie, you got that Dave Chappelle bit?
Yep.
Okay, so Dave Chappelle, we had to clean it up, so Maxie's the go-to guy for the cleanup, for the language cleanup. But anyway, Dave Chappelle did a bit that is roundly being attacked now on Twitter and beyond by left-wingers who no longer want to listen and watch his programs anymore because he dared call out the cancel culture, the people who always run around, dig stuff up on you, and take you down. Now, again, part of the people could say, well, the right does that all the time. Look what they're doing with the New York Times and their anti-Semitic remarks on Twitter. But that's because the New York Times assigns teams of people to take people down. It's interesting how they assign teams of people to take people down, unless, of course, you're a never-Trumper and you're running against President Trump. Then they don't pay attention to anything you've done in the past. That's interesting, but that's for another day. Nonetheless, this is Dave Chappelle. This is what is getting Dave Chappelle in so much trouble. He's a funny guy, by the way. I'm even glad to see him back, but he's got an edge to him that he didn't have before necessarily, but that's the way our culture is nowadays. So here's Dave Chappelle.
So in that spirit, tonight I thought I'd start my show a little differently. Tonight I'm going to do something that I'm not particularly good at, but that I like to do. Tonight I'm going to try some impressions out. I only got 2. All right, the first impression's kind of dumb, but I like it. This is my impression. You ready? This is my impression of the founding fathers of America when the Constitution was being written. You ready? Here it goes. Hurry up and finish that Constitution. I'm trying to get some sleep. It's not bad, right?
He's talking to
all right, the
slave.
next one. The next one's a little harder. I want to see if you can guess who it is I'm doing an impression of. All right, let me get into character. You got to guess who it is, though. Okay, here it goes. Hey, if you do anything wrong in your life, and I find out about it, I'm going to try to take everything away from you. And I don't care when I find out. Could be today, tomorrow, 15, 20 years from now. If I find out, you're finished. Who's that? That's you. That's what the audience sounds like to me. That's why I don't be coming out doing comedy all the time, because y'all is the worst I've ever tried to entertain in my life.
And he's right. He's expressing frustration with the left-wing mob and all their buckled shoed palace guards who every time you wander outside of the line that they've drawn for you, you are destroyed. And it doesn't matter who it is. I mean, they'll go after their own people all the time who dare say things that might be construed as, even-handed. But Chappelle is now getting it on Twitter, and it's only going to make him more frustrated because that's what people do. I mean, keep in mind, Dave Chappelle, has really done a lot of heavy lifting. And also keep in mind, Dave Chappelle supported Colin Kaepernick. And he had his own reasons for supporting Colin Kaepernick and was a darling then. But now suddenly he's like, why don't you guys stop being out and attempting to destroy people all the time? And now now keep in mind, there's a little bit of a difference here. And I realize some people might be pointing out that there might be hypocrisy. It's like, well, wait a minute, though. This guy runs against nobody runs against President Trump. And, you dig up all this stuff on him. It's like, yeah, but he's moralizing. The guy can't, his kids don't even go near him. You didn't see him when he announced. Did you see any family around him? So, there's a reason for that. There's a past there. And when you're a guy who goes on and talks and you moralize and talk about how a person is unfit to be president and unfit for this and unfit for that and sick in the head and disturbed and fiscally irresponsible, we're going to start looking at how fiscally irresponsible you've been. That's okay. That's not a mob chasing after somebody. That's somebody doing due diligence to find out whether or not this person actually has an honest core at all. And oftentimes you find out they really don't. They're the glass house thing. But that's different than simply chasing after somebody because they don't agree with you. Or that because you don't say something that is in lockstep with the culture, your left-wing culture. I mean, look what happened to the people who supported. I mean, the right has its own version of that to some degree, and most of us have managed to move these people out of our circles, which is good. And these are the people who went after you when you have been a Republican all your life and voted Republican all your life, and then suddenly you decided to support President Trump. You remember what happened to you. I remember what happened to me. I remember what happened to some of these hugely hard-working people in the grassroots who suddenly found themselves being disparaged and called Trumpkins and not real Americans and not real conservatives and all that kind of stuff when they supported President Trump. We've been there. We've had it happen to us. And it was only because we didn't support their candidate. They weren't really concerned about the future of the country. None of them were. Glenn Beck and all of his little minions running around, they weren't concerned about the future of the country. They were concerned about their nest that they've been feathering on creating sky is falling situations and needed basically a Democrat to be back in the White House so they could continue selling their books and their radio shows. But they didn't really care about the future of the country. The Constitution wasn't at stake, and they made up all the lies that they told about President Trump about being a megalomaniac and he was going to get us into war and all this kind of stuff and tank the economy and do all that kind of thing. He never did. But yeah, you've been through it before, so you've known what the right-wing mob does. And I wouldn't even call these people right-wing. They're just a bunch of they're mercenary faux Republicans. But you've been on the other end of that before. So we've seen it. Now we see it with the left. And Dave Chappelle is pointing that out.
Jamie, did you notice that when Chappelle asked the audience, "Who am I?" you could hear people in the audience say, "Trump, Trump."
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Even though,
yep.
yeah, and Trump's never done anything like that. So imagine the shock of the audience when Chappelle's like, "No, it's you."
and that's what I think aggravated a lot of people too, is that they heard the same thing you did, which is the Trump thing. And when Chappelle, like, no, I don't even know whether Chappelle heard them say Trump, but anyway, but he's like, no, that's not him. It's you. And so, yeah, that made him even more mad because he was not adding to the reality that they've created, especially about President Trump. And yeah, does President Trump dismantle people? Yeah, but the people who are dismantled are always the ones who fire the shot first. If you've noticed, I don't think there's been one occasion where President Trump has gratuitously went after somebody just out of the blue. It's always in response. But of course, the reaction when he does it is always like, look, he's lashing out at so-and-so. It's like, do you remember when so-and-so lashed out at him, 6 hours ago? But yeah, good pick on your part, you guys, because yeah, it Chappelle, I'm not even quite sure he heard it, but he was zeroed in on these people, and they didn't like that at all. And Twitter wound up eating him alive on that. Seth Feldman's on line 2. Seth, what's going on, brother?
Morning. Dave Chappelle's bit, Clayton Bigsby, the Black Blind Klansman, is probably one of the best pieces of all time.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, real quick. When I pitched you to be a contributor, your bird dog, I said I'd do whatever it takes. I'm willing to go to Brett Stevens' house in New York, dressed as an Orkin man, and I'm going to say, I'm here to rid you of the bed bug that you are. Okay? You
So
buy
what
the
would you-
plane ticket, I'm on it.
Well, that could be perceived as a threat, especially if you had one of those tanks those guys carry around. You know what I mean?
All right, well,
you
let's just get his reaction.
Well, see,
I'll deal with the consequences.
And keep in mind, you're on to something in that sense, Seth, because I guarantee if somebody on Twitter said to, in response to him wanting this professor to come to his house, if somebody said, like I said on the air earlier, I'll come to your house and say that would be perceived, I guarantee you, as a threat. You probably have your Twitter account locked.
Right, but he has opened that door by saying, come to my house. I'm willing to take that leap of faith. All right, now listen, I got another thing. Tammy, you're a real estate girl. She's offering her truck for free. I know people in 2020 want to leave the country, okay, when Trump wins again. Is she willing to lend my sister, let's say, when she's going to vote for Canada? Let's see if she's willing to lend that truck for that kind of stuff. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I know. Well, listen, man, I think she can. The only thing I would differ with you on regarding Tammy and Tammy Mitchell Hines and Company. And I know you're old school.
Right.
I get it. But she's not my real estate girl. You know that, right?
Okay, advertiser.
She's Tammy Mitchell Hines and Company, and she's a woman who spent a lot of time building this business, and she's got she's the number one independent real estate agency in southwestern Illinois, awesome. Seth Fellman. But yeah, other than that, I just want to make sure that people realize that she's not my
she is legend
real estate girl.
She is a legend.
Yeah, you don't call.
I didn't mean to just say it in that capacity. I meant because she's in a support of the show. She was on the other day with her kids. It was awesome.
Oh yeah,
stuff.
I know.
Hey, listen, I have a question. Does your wife think I'm crazy when I'm texting you at 4 a.m? Because most people like idle at 0, go to 50. I idle at 50 and go to 100.
Mine does.
I'm radio 24/7.
Yeah. Well, I got news for you. I don't have the sound of my phone on, so you could be on fire and I wouldn't know it at 4 a.m. So.
All right. So, and also, what are you thinking about Google versus PragerU? I mean, they've shut down 200 videos. They're taking them to court. They're saying they're very neutral. Meanwhile, their employees are coming out and saying they're very left-leaning and they are censoring and shadow banning PragerU.
That's unbelievable. You know what's bad about that, Seth, is that's Dennis Prager's operation. But PragerU is very popular among young people. And that's why I think they're trying to shut it down, because I guarantee you, people like Aiden and others, when we went out to this Young America's Foundation event in Santa Barbara, these kids love PragerU. I think that's why they're really going after him.
Yeah, people ask me where I studied, and I say PragerU, and I got my my master's at Manhattan Institute and my doctorate on the streets.
Yeah, right, exactly. And your Juris Doctorate at the Brookings Institute. There you go, man. There you go. All right, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, Seth. Take care, man. Yeah, thanks. No, I don't keep the sound of I don't keep my phone on. But the problem is that there's no sound, with the exception, I do like the sound of your text thing with the horn, that one. But even then, if it's coming 100 times a day, like oftentimes my phone does, you start to hear it when it's not going off, like that stupid ding. Or that one. I mean, it becomes a real problem. I mean, I long ago, I do miss some text because of that, but long ago I check my phone all the time, but I turned that sound off because I started to hear it when it wasn't going off.
There's a whole phenomenon about people that feel the vibration of their phone, but it's not vibrating.
Yeah.
It's like psychs you out.
So yeah. Yeah, I've had that happen before too. It's really so it got so bad that I had to turn that off. It was just one of those things. Seth is great though, man. He's a go-getter.
He's a caffeinated man, I think.
I don't. You know what? I actually don't think it's caffeine, man. I think it's raw Seth Fellman energy.
Right.
I don't. In fact, I think I'd be afraid to see him caffeinated.
It'd be scary. Could be.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
Although I'd like to see him caffeinated. Actually, I always say with people like that, I always like to see them with a snout full is what I like to see. It's like I'd like to see President Trump with a couple of martinis in him, tell you the truth. That's kind of my secret fantasy. But because look at him now where the guy doesn't even drink, right? Look at him now and how interesting and intriguing and amazing and funny he is. Imagine him with like just a slight little BAC. It'd be amazing. Oh, I don't know. Maybe it'd be bad. Who knows? Because sometimes, people can be the bad ones. The bad drunk, as they say, right? 844-855-1380, the call, Tammy.com, real estate listener line.
More Allman in the Morning coming up on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer. Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Well, one accident has cleared. The crash on 70 eastbound before Hughes, that's out of the way, but you still have a delay back to Route A. We have an accident blocking a left lane on 55 westbound at the Poplar Street Bridge. Your delay starts at 64. And 6440 eastbound is jammed up from the Boone Bridge to before Boone's Crossing. Left lane still blocked there with that accident. We can see it from the jam cam at Boone's Crossing. 270 northbound, Tesson Ferry to Manchester slows. Westbound 367 to West Florissant. Delays on 6440 eastbound McKnight to Big Bend. Westbound Kings Highway to Laclede Station Road. That's traffic. I'm Bonnie Green. On 1380 and 105.3 The Answer. Online at theanswerstl.com.
All right, friends. Can't wait to get out there to officially grand open the nice, big, gigantic showroom there in St. Peter's, built by the folks there at Arrowhead Building Supply. And it originally started as a big dream on the part of Rick Pogue, and that's what he does. That's why Arrowhead is what it is, because he's the big dreamer, and Jerry is the guy who kind of signs the checks. As father, who who created the business, his father, a former roofer when he was a young man, and said, "You know what? I'm gonna go big. I'm gonna go big here. I'm gonna be a supplier now." And look what they've become, a 7,000 square foot showroom with a home built inside of the showroom. And it is amazing what they've been able to achieve just by showing you the outside elegance line in ways that no one else has thought to do. And so, yeah, I mean, you can go in sometimes and see these, go in and see something on a kiosk or whatever it happens to be. But to see it in real life on a home and how it looks on a home, that's an extra special added benefit to you, the homeowner, and you, the contractor, too, because these building supplies are some things you, too, can offer to your people kind of through Arrowhead, and that's great. Rob Very, who is a brand new advertiser on the show with 4 Kitchens and Baths, F-O-R-E, longtime listener of the show, he goes to Rick for all of his kitchen cabinetry and for all of his stuff. So that's pretty cool. So it doesn't matter whether it's the kitchen cabinetry or the cedar shake or the copper guttering, whatever it happens to be. You can see it all in real life at the brand new showroom in St. Peter's. Check it out on the web. It's arrowheadbuildingsupply.com. That's arrowheadbuildingsupply.com.
KXFN, St. Louis, K287BY, St. Louis.
No one wants to wake up to the news that they're the victim of identity theft or that malware is compromising their smartphone. That's why LifeLock with Norton now includes protection for your identity and devices. Join at LifeLock.com and use promo code RISK to get 10% off your first year.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. For years now, long preceding the emergence of candidate Trump, or now President Trump, I have been making repeated and urgent calls for the rebuilding of our naval fleet. The president sees that need as well. He's made his own call for a 355-ship Navy. But there's been little to no progress from the Navy in delivering even a bare-bones plan to realize the president's objective. States that turned from supporting President Barack Obama in 2012 to voting for Donald Trump in 2016. Those 3 states were critical to putting President Trump in the White House. Each one of those states has infrastructure that would have benefited from an active shipbuilding program today. President Trump may well come face-to-face with the consequences of his Pentagon leadership's failure to implement his oft-promised 355-ship Navy. The Pentagon should be presenting a shipbuilding plan now. I'm Hugh Hewitt.
Publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu.
I'm not an actor. I was not compensated in any way for this.
Byron bought a timeshare. After 12 years of endless fees and broken promises, he wanted out.
I saw an ad about a company that talked about being able to get you out of your contract, and they would sell your timeshare. They ripped me off. I found out later on that the market for timeshares is non-existent.
So he turned to Wesley Financial Group.
They had a very good Better Business Bureau rating, and after reading all the testimonials, I felt like I wanted to give them a chance.
Wesley Financial Group got Byron out of his timeshare contract legally.
If you are like me and you would like to get out of this contract, I strongly urge you to get a hold of Wesley Financial Group. They are honest and good people, and I just want to thank them from the bottom of my heart.
For your free information kit, call 800-349-8877. 800-349-8877. Again, 800-349-8877.
So you're getting ready to sell your house. You want it to look its best. You've gone through your checklist, almost ready, but wait. Does your home have curb appeal? If you're unsure, you should contact Michael Proctor of Proctor Drapery about shutters for your front-facing windows. Shutters have curb appeal, and they can go in any home. Shutters can change the whole look of the home. Give your home that curb appeal it needs by putting shutters in your front window. Blinds and shades do not make the same statement. Shutters are the new look for today. Michael Proctor specializes in Norman shutters. Have you seen the new modern look? Modern shutters have a wider louver and invisible style. So, whether it's traditional or modern, choose shutters for the new look today. Why wait? Schedule your in-home consultation with his mobile design unit. The one-on-one appointment will ensure the look is exactly what you need for your home. Contact Michael at proctordrapery.com. It's Proctor spelled like doctor.
The Dana Show, this afternoon at 1. Now, more Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Pretty typical example of the abdication of responsibility among our liberal lawmakers, black and white, as the headline in the Post-Dispatch reads, "Special session on gun violence rejected by Missouri Governor Mike Parsons." So the news media and the Missouri Black Caucus has managed to make this all about Governor Parson being the mean, bad, white Republican who doesn't want to do anything about black violence. It's amazing to see this situation where you have black lawmakers standing in this beautiful, comfy little Thomas Hart Benton painted walled room as they wax poetically about the need for a special session. And then it's off to a fundraiser that evening, of course, while their constituents are dying. They know more legislation is not what we need. I'll talk about that on the other side of this break. And your phone calls 844-855-1380.
News this hour from townhall.com.
There's another guy with the socks. I got to have some crazy
Flooding,
socks.
landslides, and power outages. Those are the big concerns as Tropical Storm Dorian moves in on Puerto Rico. National Weather Service meteorologist Jose Alamo with the storm's timeline.
Impact from beginning to end, probably we're looking from early this morning till very early Thursday morning. A few of the outer bands or a tail of moisture associated with it may linger a little bit longer into Thursday afternoon.
Forecasters say Dorian may slam the east coast of Florida in a few days, possibly as a Cat 2 hurricane.
We're talking about late weekend, early next week, where there's potential impacts on the southeast U.S. So I think with that in mind, now is the time to be prepared.
Dave Roberts at the National Hurricane Center. Homeland Security moving around some money, reallocating $271 million to border security and to provide care for non-citizens. Germany's Deutsche Bank says it has tax returns relevant to subpoenas from House Democrats, but it's not saying whether those returns belong to President Trump.
In a separate letter to a federal appeals court in New York, the bank said it has tax returns related to parties not named in the subpoenas, but who may constitute immediate family within the definition provided in the subpoenas. The court filing was in response to subpoenas from two House committees looking into the president's financial dealings. A second bank, Capital One, denied having any relevant tax returns. Lawyers representing the president, his family, and businesses are seeking to block the release of that information.
Capitol Hill correspondent Wally Hines. Purdue Pharma in talks with state attorneys general and others, company looking to settle lawsuits stemming from the opioid abuse crisis. Wall Street, Dow futures down 48 points, NASDAQ futures off 19, S&P futures 4 points lower. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Well, one accident has cleared. The crash on 70 eastbound before Hughes, that's out of the way, but you still have a delay back to Route A. We have an accident blocking a left lane on 55 westbound at the Poplar Street Bridge. Your delay starts at 64. And 6440 eastbound is jammed up from the Boone Bridge to before Boone's Crossing. Left lane still blocked there with that accident. We can see it from the jam cam at Boone's Crossing. 270 northbound, Tesson Ferry to Manchester slows. Westbound 367 to West Florissant. Delays on 6440 eastbound McKnight to Big Bend. Westbound Kings Highway to Laclede Station Road. That's traffic. I'm Bonnie Green. On 1380 and 105.3 The Answer. Online at theanswerstl.com.
1380 The Answer. Weather.
Sunny and pleasant today. A comfortable 82 degrees as your high. Clear tonight. Low 64. Sunny and pleasant for Thursday. High 86 into Friday. A little bit warmer, humid intervals of clouds and sunshine. Expect a thunderstorm in the area in the afternoon. High 87. Some sun on Saturday. High 82. I'm Maddie Baggett with your St. Louis Metro forecast on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
I'm Lou Dobbs. Johnson & Johnson's guilty verdict did nothing to hurt its share prices. And Lowe's executive issues an apology. Those stories next.
I'm Bobby Richards with today's 1 Minute Money Report. The New York Times recently reported on an unusual way Americans are making money. They found over 10,000 people who broke the golden rule of investing and became millionaires. The stories included people from all walks of life, including writers, professional bowlers, and blues guitarists, even a set of grandparents.
We broke the golden rule of investing and turned $16,000 into $2 million.
And here's one person who agrees with what they're doing, Warren Buffett. He says blindly following Wall Street's golden rule is just protection against ignorance. And Alexander Green, perhaps the top stock picker in America, told his 140,000 followers that if they break this rule, they can retire on just one investment. His video immediately went viral. You can view it for yourself at onestockretirement.com and decide if you should break the golden rule too. Again, that's onestockretirement.com. If your retirement isn't what you want it to be, go see what 10,000 people have already used to become millionaires.
Brought to you by the Oxford Club.
Johnson & Johnson lost a major opioid lawsuit Monday, but shares of Johnson & Johnson nonetheless rose 2%. That's because the $572 million awarded to plaintiffs was far less than the $17.5 billion they had sought in damages. And, by the way, the plaintiffs need to survive appeals by Johnson & Johnson. Johnson & Johnson recorded $22 billion in profits last year. Home prices here in the U.S. rising during the month of June. A 20-city home price index rose 2.1%. Phoenix with a large increase in the index, a 5.8% increase, in fact. Please join me for Lou Dobbs tonight, 7 o'clock and 10 Eastern on the Fox Business Network. This is the Lou Dobbs Financial Report.
All right, friends, Banner Construction, 569-1050. When you hook up with Banner for your remodeling needs, you, ladies and gentlemen, are hooking up with a world-famous remodeling company. I say world-famous because the people who have attracted the attention of Banner Construction and the people who actually are gravitating towards Banner are, in fact, two world-renowned companies. And I'm talking about the James Hardie Fiber Cement Company as well as the Pella Window Company. They both have zeroed in on Banner and said, you know what, Banner, we want you all to sell our products, install our products, and be the face, basically, of our products. And these are two pretty highfalutin, high-regarded companies, James Hardie and Pella, and you've heard the names before. Certainly, Pella Window has been around for so long in terms of these wood windows and vinyl windows, replacement windows. They're just the rock stars of the window industry. And then a James Hardie is just an amazing product. It's lasting half a century. Looks like wood. It's a siding product that increases the value of your home beyond compare. But you need a company that's reliable to do it and install it all, and Banner is that company. They right now have summer pricing still in effect, even though summer's almost over with Labor Day, everything else. But they have summer pricing in effect. They're ready to rock and roll for you and get the job done. Even if it is something you're going to wait until October or maybe even November to do, you still can get summer pricing with Banner Construction. BannerConstruction.com, 314-569-1050.
This Labor Day weekend, get major savings on men's and women's Levi's denim. Plus, save on select home items like mattresses, towels, and more. Get grand old savings this Thursday through Monday at JCPenney.
Common Sense Radio with Allman in the morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Give me land, lots of land, and the starry skies above. Don't fence me in. Let me ride through the wide open country that I love. Don't fence me in. Let me be by myself in the evening breeze. Listen to the murmur of the cottonwood trees. Send me off forever, but I ask you please. Don't fence me in. Don't fence me in. Just turn me loose. Let me straddle my own saddle underneath the western sky.
All right, so I just have so much to talk to you about. I just don't know where to put it. You know, to tell you the truth, normally I can figure it out, but I just want to get to so much. And also, I'll kind of tease a few things. Sheila Jackson Lee with Andrea Mitchell on reparations. How do you think that whole thing worked out? And then also, Beto O'Rourke decides he's going to kick a Breitbart news reporter out of one of his events. This is the same Beto O'Rourke who, as you remember, when President Trump dared to call the media the enemy, stood up for the media. But on a more pressing issue, especially locally in St. Louis, when it comes to the violence on the streets of St. Louis, isolated to just a few particular areas. One place that surprised me, Phil, is the one of the most dangerous parts of St. Louis now. If you look at the Post-Dispatch, which compiled crime stats in terms of the increase in violent crime, is the Skinker de Bolivar neighborhood.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a nice neighborhood.
Well, that's right down, that's right down off of Skinker, obviously, into Bolivar and Union, and there are these gigantic homes down there. It's where really, in terms, it was St. Louis's West County back in the old days. It was where all of the hoity-toity, where the rich people lived and everything else, and beautiful homes there. But the Skinker de Bolivar neighborhood, and a lot of that is, I will never forget. They call it the Skinker de Bolivar neighborhood, and some people are like, I don't even know where that is. And I know that was the point. I'll never forget when I was at Channel 4 when Vince Shamel, who's a nice guy by the way, but he's the mayor. When somehow you talk about media collusion, man. It was in the early 90s. In the early 90s was when we had a similar attack of violence in this town, so much so that the Post-Dispatch put on kind of like a homicide ticker, a tally every day. Every day there was a tally that told you what the homicide number was. That's how bad it was in the early 90s. And so the Post-Dispatch put the tally on, and it was all predominantly North St. Louis. But because white liberals like Vince Shamel and the other agreeable blacks all thought that maybe folk calling it North St. Louis was kind of racist or isolating, they decided to give us a map that would be the formal identifications of the neighborhood. So you'd have the Cheltenham neighborhood. You know where that is? You know where that is? Of course you don't know where that is. That's the point. And that, of course, is where the old arena used to be. But nonetheless, they decided to name these neighborhoods, and then then the city provided us with a map. And so for a while there, we were not allowed on the air to say North St. Louis. Can you believe that? Not anybody in the media used the word North St. Louis by orders, in cooperation with the city government. And then if you did, you were racist. So unfortunately, our news director, who wasn't a dumb guy, but I guess was easily swayed. But I think what they did was they had like a meeting. Like Shamel had all the news people into the meeting. And they made an agreement that that's how we would, in the future, report on crime in St. Louis. It still lingers on. I don't know whether it still lingers on in in the local news organizations on TV, but it still lingers on in the Post-Dispatch. How many times have you picked up a Post-Dispatch article and you're reading a story about a homicide and they say it's in the blah, blah, blah neighborhood? And you're like, where is that? Well, you don't know where it is. That's the point. And so, but when you talk about that, when you talk about the power of the government to sway the news to the point where they just basically because really in the end it was a disservice to the people of North St. Louis, because the more people realized that the dangerous parts were North St. Louis, the better off North St. Louisans who lived there would be. But that didn't occur to these people, or it did occur to them, but they didn't care. They just cared about glossing over a problem that was isolated in one particular area, because when you isolate it to one particular area, it's easier for you to do something about it because you know where it's all happening. But if you don't want to do anything about it, or you don't have answers to doing anything about it, you decide to go ahead and confuse everybody, which is exactly what the Shamel administration did. They just confused everybody, and the Post-Dispatch still has adopted that kind of language because they don't want to incriminate North St. Louis, when North St. Louis is the most dangerous part of St. Louis, and there's no denying it. But they made people, but they glossed it all over. A lot of people don't realize that, but that's what they did. And we all were forced to say which. We had to go to a map every day. We were covering something, had to go to a map and figure out what neighborhood it was. It's clearly North St. Louis. But we had to go and figure out what neighborhood. I mean, I don't know. The time we spent trying to figure out what friggin' neighborhood to put in there, it was unbelievable. And I think it still goes on a little bit. If it does, let me know if you've noticed that. 844-855-1380.
Some of the neighborhoods sounded really nice too, which is funny.
Oh yeah,
they're older neighborhoods, but there was opposition, I think, to that murder ticker thing that you were talking about too. They tried to call that racist too for a while.
Yeah,
I think, from the paper.
Yeah, that's around the time that everything changed. And the shame. This is the shame. They call them. This is the same administration, the Shamel administration. They call it the Shamel pots. You seen those? By the way, the Skinker to Bolivar neighborhood is where there is the most proliferation of Shamel pots. Did you know that? It just so happens the most dangerous part of St. Louis is the one part where they have a proliferation of Shamel pots. Now, I'm not quite sure that actually is the word. I think there's another Shamel planters. But what they did was the city decided to protect all the elites, because this is where, by the way, all the mayors and all the higher ups in government lived, because you had to live in the city. So some of them lived in Holly Hills or places like that, but a lot of them lived in and all the moneyed people in St. Louis. All the liberal moneyed people all lived in the Compton Park area, and then the Skinker to Bolivar area, right off of Skinker there. Those streets there, all the nice streets. The Central West End, for instance, is in the Skinker. I think that's mostly in the Skinker to Bolivar neighborhood or near it. So in order to try to protect the rich whites in St. Louis, Shamel came up with the Shamel pots. And so all over the Central West End and in the Bolivar area there, you see dead ends. At the end of the street, there are like three big gigantic planters at the end of the street. So you can't go down the street. You can't drive through. And those pots, and much to the credit of the Post-Dispatch, they did a story on this a while back. But if you so now you drive around and you can't get through. Driving around the Central West End is almost impossible sometimes if you don't know what you're doing, and you can't drive through. The offshoot of that particular creation, the Shamel pots, was creating more danger, not less. because you had people where the police couldn't basically patrol easily. You couldn't drive through neighborhoods anymore and patrol them. And the people who were committing crimes knew that. They knew there was a place that they could go where there wasn't anybody who was going to be able to come after them in a car, that's for sure. And it created actually more drama, not less. And more problems, not less. See what white liberals do? And if you want to see what black liberals do, all you have to do is go to the prosecutor's office and ask them what their rate of prosecution of gun crimes are. And you'll notice that the increase in crime and violent crime in the city, at least of late, has coincided with the decrease in prosecutions. We don't need more gun laws like the Black Caucus believes we have. We need a competent city attorney who's going to prosecute the laws that are already in force. Unfortunately, what happens is when Kim Gardner decides that she's going to prosecute somebody, because there's always, and when you commit a crime like a robbery, there's a crime that is there's a statute that covers robbery, but on top of that, there's also a statute that covers a robbery with a gun. It's called armed criminal action. Armed criminal action will tack on 25 to 40 years on a sentence. Unfortunately, what happens is armed criminal action is the first thing lazy prosecutors like Kim Gardner drop off in plea bargains. Because they don't want to pursue it or because they have problems prosecuting or whatever, they decide the armed criminal action part is not going to go. So the prosecution of existing gun laws is also a problem. Back in the day, damn it, now I can't remember her name. The prosecutor, now I can't remember her name. She was fairly decent prosecutor. She was hell bent on prosecuting gun laws. They're already on the books. You don't need to pass more gun legislation to lop on 40 years to a guy who commits a crime with a gun. But she did a lot of it, and did a pretty good job doing it. Can't believe I can't remember her name, but it's been so long. And you'll see that once Kim Gardner came in and her incompetent staff and her corrupt office, that's gone down, and look what's happened. And looks, it's also coincided with frequent attacks on law enforcement as being too heavy-handed, as being too this and too that. I'm not saying the police have given up, but there's been a natural inclination to not do a whole lot of physical policing. I'm talking about pulling people over, like we're walking down a street and there's something looking suspicious and you kind of ask what's up. That doesn't really happen a whole lot anymore. Back in the day, you had guys. We had a team of drug enforcement, and keep in mind this was also coincided with, even though that has been since reinstalled, but there was a time when the entire drug unit of the police department was dismantled. It was gone. Well, look what has happened now. But there was a time in the early 90s where they had a team called the Crack Team. And it was Ron Clyer, and in fact, the current chief of police, who was in this team. And if they saw somebody looking funny, they'd walk up to him and go, "What are you doing? Where are you going? What's up?" You know, it wasn't stop and frisk, which I have some problems with. It was, hey, what do you do? Where are you going? What are you doing? They knew who the bad guys in the neighborhood were all the time, and they'd see them all the time, and they'd be on their asses all the time. Doesn't happen anymore because you don't want to be racist. Now they want body cameras. You know, that's been the solution. So again, I'll continue on with this because I've got more, because the Black Caucus came out and tried to play a little game yesterday and make this all about Governor Parson being the big bad guy. and because he didn't call a special session on gun violence. 844-855-1380, the calltammy.com real estate listener line.
More Allman in the Morning coming up on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer. Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Another accident has popped up. 170 southbound is stop and go from St. Charles Rock Road to Olive Boulevard, where 2 right lanes are blocked with a crash. We can see it from the jam cam at Olive. And 44 eastbound still heavy, Bowles to 270 into that ongoing road work. 270 northbound Tesson Ferry to Manchester backs up westbound Bellefonte to West Florissant. 55 northbound Broadway to the Poplar Street Bridge. You've got delays. 6440 eastbound Boone Bridge to Boone's Crossing, Clayton Warson to Big Bend, westbound Van Deventer to Laclede Station, and 70 eastbound Route 8 to Hughes jammed up too. That's traffic. I'm Bonnie Green. On 1380 and 105.3 The Answer. Online at theanswerstl.com.
Allman here for a longtime Common Sense Radio supporter, Matthew Mitchell, the Matthew Mitchell Allstate Agency, 855-QUOTE-ME. Low premiums and low deductibles on your home, auto, and life, and I have all 3 of those policies with my good friend Matthew. Also, he's got some great deals for the young driver. You know how expensive it can be to insure them. He's got low premiums and low deductibles, even for your young drivers. 855-QUOTE-ME, 855-QUOTE-ME.
There's a place for you at St. Matthew in Belleville. 9 a.m. is our blended service with a 70-voice sanctuary choir and orchestra. Our contemporary service is at 11 a.m. led by our praise band. Make St. Matt's a great start to your week. I'm Scott Ferguson, Director of Outreach, and I can't wait to see you Sunday. For more information, visit us at stmatthewumc.org.
Health insurance premiums making you sick? Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. I have the answer. Dryden Camus Insurance Agency serving Missouri and Illinois. This is non-Obamacare, and you can enroll anytime. You don't have to wait for open enrollment. Why should you have to pay for maternity coverage and pediatric dental care if you don't need it? KDDI-INS.com. KDDI-INS.com or call Joyce at 877-695-0245. 877-695-0245. This is the answer. This is the solution. KDDI-INS.com.
Arrowhead now offers the full line of roofing and siding products from CertainTeed. Beautify your home with CertainTeed landmark architectural shingles. For an even bolder statement, check out CertainTeed's famous Grand Manor or Presidential Shake, or the new Belmont traditional slate look. Get the rustic look of natural cedar siding without the high cost and maintenance of wood with Cedar Impressions polymer shakes. Cedar Board's insulated siding is an energy-saving, foam-backed siding with a wood grain texture molded from real cedar boards. Contact us today, arrowheadbuildingsupply.com.
You love that smell. That new truck smell. All cleaned up and ready to go.
Did you get your vent visor?
You know, the rain guard that goes over your window? Stop by Custom Car and Truck in O'Fallon, Illinois for free installation and lifetime warranty on vent visors.
How about your bug shield? You don't want to mess up the hood of your new truck with dead bugs. Keep them off the hood with free installation and lifetime warranty bug shield.
See John and the crew off Highway 50 in O'Fallon, Illinois,
or online at customcarandtruck.com.
This Labor Day weekend, get major savings on men's and women's Levi's denim. Plus, save on select home items like mattresses, towels, and more. Get grand old savings this Thursday through Monday at JCPenney.
Hey, Michael's Flooring Outlet is back supporting Allman in the Morning. Love this guy and love what they do for you. 4 locations throughout the St. Louis area. Check it out at michaelsflooringoutlet.com. The best installers you're going to find anywhere. The highest quality flooring products you're going to find anywhere. And if you want to test it out, go to Google and just Google Michael's Flooring Outlet reviews. And you're going to see top-notch 5-star ratings almost all across the board. michaelsflooringoutlet.com.
Hey, want to talk with Jamie? Call 844-855-1380. 844-855-1380. And interact with Common Sense Radio. This is Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Tried to make me go to rehab. I said no.
Good morning this morning. 844-855-1380. The calltammy.com real estate listener line. And you remember the movie The Witches of Eastwick? Well, Phil just told me there's a new movie out, and Max might be able to cover it at some point. It's called The Bitches of Twitter. And the former radio host guy who decided to run against President Trump and Brett Stevens are both in the starring roles. Just letting you know that. That's what Phil's opinion is about it anyway. I'll have to check and see whether or not that actually is true. But I hear that that's the case from Phil. So, off to the races there. And thank you, guys. It was Jennifer Joyce who was the prosecutor. And yeah, she really made it a primary focus of her end of law enforcement by prosecuting gun crimes more severely. If you commit a crime with a gun, you're definitely going away. And that's the other thing that the crack team and that they used to do to resolve and reduce violence in the 90s is that they sent people to prison. They sent people away. Now, it's so hands off. Oh no, we don't. Prison's racist. We don't want to do that. You can't. We don't want to prosecute. We don't do. That's what it is. It's a problem when you get these left wingers who run the coop there. It's like they're hands off. And I think Kim Gardner's contributed to the problem. And I don't think the Missouri Black Caucus is helping. I like this guy, Steve Roberts Jr. I've stood up for him before on a number of different levels. But I think when they're having a news conference from the beautiful walls of this gorgeous Jefferson City room with Thomas Hart Benton paintings all over it, saying that, hey, Mike Parson, you need to solve this gun violence problem. I'm like, excuse me, your people are being killed in your communities, your constituents are. And you're saying that Mike Parson has to come to the rescue for this and give you the chance to pass gun laws that don't work, that you already know don't work? You got to be crazy. But again, as typically, whether it be Vince Shamel or the Missouri Black Caucus, they always try to resolve problems with dumb solutions that don't work. And if they really actually wanted to solve the problem, they'd have to get their hands dirty, but none of them want to. So that's Vince Shamel's idea, was just to put up a bunch of planters so that so you could lock off the whites from any kind of molestation by the blacks. And then you have the Black Caucus not doing anything about what's happening in their own garden there and continue to support white liberals and black ones who aren't prosecuting crimes correctly and aren't in favor of firm economic progress that could be made to surround and solve the pathologies surrounding violence.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. Flooding, landslides, and power outages, those the big concerns as Tropical Storm Dorian moves in on Puerto Rico, expected to make landfall later today. Forecasters say the storm could hit the east coast of Florida this coming weekend, possibly as a Category 2 hurricane, but they say it's still very early, so keep an eye on the progress of the storm. Homeland Security shifting around funds, reallocating $271 million for border security, as well as providing care for non-citizens. Purdue Pharma in talks with state attorneys general and others, the company looking to settle lawsuits stemming from the opioid abuse crisis. Wall Street's opening in the red this morning. Right now, the Dow is down about 121 points. More details at srnnews.com.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Accident still causing big problems. 170 southbound jammed up from Natural Bridge to Olive Boulevard, where a right lane is still blocked with that crash. We can see it from the jam cam at Olive. 270 northbound still heavy. Tesson Ferry to Manchester, westbound 367 to West Florissant. 55 northbound Broadway to the Poplar Street Bridge backs up. 6440 eastbound Boone Bridge to Boone's Crossing. Clayton Worsted to Big Bend, westbound Kings Highway to Laclede Station. 70 eastbound 94 to St. Charles Rock Road. And now we have another accident, 6440 eastbound at Lindbergh, blocking a right lane. That's traffic. I'm Bonnie Green. On 1380 and 105.3 The Answer. Online at theanswerstl.com.
1380 The Answer. Weather.
Sunny and pleasant today. A comfortable 82 degrees as your high. Clear tonight. Low 64, sunny and pleasant for Thursday. High 86 into Friday, a little bit warmer, humid intervals of clouds and sunshine. Expect a thunderstorm in the area in the afternoon. High 87, some sun on Saturday, high 82. I'm Maddie Baggett with your St. Louis Metro forecast on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
What's great about the Volvo product, among a number of things, is its really sleek look. And over the past decade or so, or 2 decades, it's really evolved into one of the smartest looking automobiles on the road. The Volvo, brought to you by Suntrup Volvo of West County. Chris Suntrup, thank you for your support of free Common Sense Radio. Suntrup is a name I love to be associated with, and I appreciate that immensely. You're going to appreciate the look of the Volvo, especially the S60. I like to talk about that because it's kind of like in your wheelhouse when people talk about cars. It's actually made at a brand new plant built in South Carolina by the Volvo Corporation. So this S60 is if you're on the road, you can look at it and say, well, is that a Jaguar? Is it a Tesla? No, it's an S60 Volvo sedan. It looks great. And it's made right here in America, and it's a beautiful car. They have the S60 crossover as well that I saw on the road the other day. That looks really good and sturdy. And all of the legendary safety that is in the Volvo car and in the Volvo wagons, in the Volvo SUVs, everything else still is maintained in the beautiful new looks of the Volvo automobiles, brought to you by West County Volvo. Some really great deals to be had now as we enter into the autumn car selling season. And so the Suntrup folks are ready to rock with you, and they are award-winning on their customer service and ready to rock when you walk in the door there on Manchester Road, just 4 miles west of 270. Check it out at wcvolvo.com. That's wcvolvo.com. That's Suntrup Volvo of West County.
This Labor Day weekend, get major savings on men's and women's Levi's denim. Plus, save on select home items like mattresses, towels, and more. Get grand old savings this Thursday through Monday at JCPenney.
Call the 1380 The Answer listener line and tell us, what do you think?
I used to listen to Jamie Allman for years, and when the other station got rid of him, I was so disappointed. I tried the other radio station, I truly did, and no. Not even close to what he is, how he speaks, how he brings out subjects. Thank you for having Jamie Allman.
Call 844-825-1380. It's your turn to speak up. America's First News with Matt Ray gets you up to speed mornings from 4 to 6, right before Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
All right, man, my iPad died. You know, I'm the king of the dying iPad. You know what I'm saying?
King of 2%.
King of 2%.
That's right.
I guess I could charge it overnight. But you know what happens is, dude, I've had 2 charges that have gone south on me. I don't know whether it's maybe I guess I tend to be rough on them, whatever. But the chargers go, you know, after about 3 months, and then I haven't charged the iPad, and it's just kind of like, and it doesn't. And then there's whatever charger we're using here isn't charging it up, and I'm not blaming you, but I'm just telling you.
Yeah, it's a cheap one. It's a real cheap one. I got it from like eBay, China.
Yeah, I bought this one. I bought my real. I thought, oh, well, it's a long cord. It's like a 10-foot long cord at 7-Eleven, and that thing blows. And I bought one at. I also bought one at a Quick Trip. And that's not true, and then not good. And then the one I bought at the Apple came with the phone. That's deteriorating as well. So anyway, those are just first world problems. Can I start the music then, just for the heck of it? Then, yeah. Pretend that the whole thing never happened. What's wrong with your radio, people?
To be young and in love in New York City. Do not know who I am, but still know that I'm good long as you're here with me.
I don't know who that baby was complaining about iPads and charging. What a punk. What a baby. He and Brett Stevens belong together, for crying out loud. You know, speaking of babies, Beto O'Rourke is probably the king. Beto O'Rourke. So, he's your reparations boy. He's your fake name liberal. Daddy named him Beto so he could fit in and lie about his heritage, basically. Are you Irish? Yeah. Are you Robert Francis O'Rourke? You're named after, like, some of the whitest people in the country? Yeah. But your dad gave you a nickname when you were a kid, and the nickname is Beto, right? Yeah. Why? Well, we know why. Because he wanted you to fit in because there was a pretty large Hispanic population, blah, blah. You know what it turns out, though? The real truth is, you know who started calling Beto first, right? His maids. The maids at his house. Yeah, Beto you wouldn't hear that. They lie about his dad using it. I fell for it. But it was the hired help who called him, and the hired help was Hispanic. And they called Beto first because he was a cute little boy, and they had cute little boys at home, and they nicknamed them, so they nicknamed Robert Francis O'Rourke Beto. Yeah. The hired help. Anyway, so Beto is not only, kind of one of these pansies who every time Al Sharpton says, swipe your credit card. Yes, sir. Whatever. Reparations. Yes, I'm on board. We'll get to that in a second because Sheila Jackson Lee, the sage of Congress, has chimed in on reparations, but I'll get to that in a second. So Beto, you remember, let's see, what date was this? Oh, this was October of 2018, so almost a year ago. And Beto was asked a question about the president's use of the term enemy of the people, the enemy-media. And they actually are the enemy of the people, but anyway, there's actually a really good short play by Bertolt Brecht called Enemy of the People. I think it's Bertolt Brecht. I remember seeing it. I think it's actually a play called Enemy of the People. I had to read that like in 7th grade, 8th grade. Remember that? It's like, wow, what is this? It was based in Russia, I think. I don't know. Anyway, this is October of 2018. And so this woman tees him up for a question about the enemy of the people. Here you go. Listen to this one.
Wondering, given the anti-media, anti-free press rhetoric that is so prevalent right now, what would you, as U.S. Senator, do to ensure the press is protected, journalists are protected, and that they can continue to serve as watchdogs for democracy?
Yeah, this idea fronted by the president that somehow the press are the enemy of the people, reinforced by him tweeting out images of a reporter being hit by a train, body slammed in a wrestling ring, is incitement to violence. I don't know any other way to call it. That undermines an essential pillar of the American democracy. 242 years in to this audacious experiment that is the exception, not the rule in world history, that we can freely choose those who represent us and guide the course and direction that this country will take. If we don't have a free press, if we cannot make informed decisions at the ballot box, if you can't hold people like me...
By the way, it was Henrik Ibsen who wrote the Enemy of the People, an Enemy of the People play. Sorry. I got him and Bertolt Brecht mixed up. So anyway, there's Beto O'Rourke talking about how terrible it is that the president uses the term enemy of the people and the press is not the enemy of the people. So what happens the other day? In Columbia, South Carolina, this champion of press freedom decided that with his numbers failing and everything else, ejected the Breitbart news reporter from a speech at Benedict College, which is a historically black college in right there. And the reporter was standing along the side of a lecture hall in the basement of this humanities center waiting for the event to start. Other news outlets had set up cameras in the back of the room. about right after the 3 o'clock event was supposed to begin, one of Beto O'Rourke's henchmen approached and said and asked what outlet that the reporter represented. And it was Breitbart. And the guy was like, okay, all right. Then a few minutes later, a campus police officer came to the reporter and motioned for him to come to the back of the room and take anything, property, cameras, anything else with him. And in the hallway, he informed Joel Pollack to leave. Joel Pollack's a great guy. He's one of the lead reporters there at Breitbart and has wandered around the earth confronting some of these Democrat politicians. Now, of course, he's not doing anything differently than CBS News is doing to President Trump as he stands in front of Marine One. But nonetheless, Pollack was informed that he had to leave. And then another member of the O'Rourke staff, a guy named Stephen, who wouldn't give his last name, said that he was being ejected because he'd been disruptive at past events, presumably when he confronted Joe Biden. Remember that? The first O'Rourke events, the two he covered was a protest outside a shelter for migrant teens in Florida. The second was at the Bully Pulpit lecture in Charleston, South Carolina on Monday evening. That's where the woman made the question. There was no disruption whatsoever. And the only crime that he committed was when he asked at a press gaggle in South Carolina, he confronted O'Rourke with this. Here, I'll play it for you. And it's just, this is Pollack just asking O'Rourke a question about his misrepresentation of President Trump's Charlottesville comments. And by the way, this is exactly
President Trump, after
question.
Charlottesville, said that he condemned the white supremacists and the neo-Nazis totally. Are you aware that you're misquoting him or partially quoting him, not quoting the full extent of his remarks in Charlottesville? Now,
is that question any different than the kind of confrontations that President Trump deals with every day? And I'm talking about by the dozens. It's not just one reporter out there who's a pain. They all are. And they all ask questions like that, these leading questions, these whatever. Are you aware you're doing this? Or why did you do this? Well, they confront them. So it's all fun and games, right? It's all fair. In love and war. And this is a guy who, by the way, O'Rourke, who claims that he's a champion of press freedom and apparently can't handle the fact that Pollack asked him a question at this event.
That might inflame tensions rather than heal divisions?
No, I believe in the truth and in being honest about what the president's doing. And it's not just that he referred to Klansmen as very fine people. It is that he attempted to ban all people of one religion from this country. So this is Beta, and you could tell when he's talking and responding to Pollack, you know what he's doing, right? He's filing this away. And everybody around him, you know that he's not just alone there. He's got people around him who have suddenly, I'm sure Stephen was there, right? Who suddenly ID'd Pollack and remembered him from last time. So that's when they're at this other event and they decided to ask Pollack to leave based on pretty much that question. So there's now, keep in mind, you've got a guy like Beta O'Rourke who is running against President Trump, who, by the way, is one of the most open, transparent presidents in the history of the presidency. He's had more press gaggles and more press access than any other president in history. And you've got a guy like Beto O'Rourke who can't handle one confrontational question from a reporter and ejects the reporter while at the same time claiming to be standing up for press freedom. Again, Beto O'Rourke can't handle a question from a Breitbart reporter
how's he going to stand up to anybody? He can't stand up to Al Sharpton, who demands money from him, and other radical black leaders who demand money from him. He can't stand up to anybody. O'Rourke stands up to fictitious situations, fictitious creations, like a racist Donald Trump. He had to make that up in order for that to be remotely true. He had to make it all up. And yet that's the guy who wants to be president of the United States. And really, honestly, not that really I really have to bother with it, because this guy's not going anywhere, which is why he's having the problems that he's having and why he's doing what he's doing, because he's suddenly discovering that Breitbart and others are having influence on calling them out and telling the truth. This is a somewhat uncomfortable story. I'm not quite sure what to do with it. Ilhan Omar's marriage and all of her other things are really none of my business. But it does matter if you are Ilhan Omar and you're held up as this great, amazing piece of moral, pristine porcelain. And that matters, because at this time, you're not really supposed to criticize Ilhan Omar at all. She can do whatever she wants to do. But this is kind of out there. Like, I didn't really care. And there was a story out there about Ilhan Omar marrying her cousin or something, and your brother. and again, I don't really get into that kind of stuff because it's irrelevant. It's kind of like the way people attack President Trump for all of his personal situations regarding his marriages and stuff. It's like, well, if it's relevant to how things are rolling, it's one thing. If it's not, it's not. So in some ways, this really doesn't matter except for its irony, because Ilhan Omar stands out as that person. But a Washington, D.C. mom has sued her political consultant husband for divorce and says that her husband left her for Ilhan Omar. And this guy apparently has worked for Omar and Keith Ellison, who came before her. And they separated in April of 2019 when he said to his wife that he is in love with Ilhan Omar. Omar, at around the same period of time, separated from her husband, and so that's what happened. I'm not quite sure how relevant that is, except that it just goes to show you that people who keep claiming that they're superhuman sometimes are really not. And but that's probably something that we knew anyway. So I don't know. Doesn't do much for me on that end. 844-855-1380. The call, Tammy.com, real estate listener line.
Live from the Arrowhead Building Supply Studio, this is Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer. Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
The accident on 170 southbound at Olive has cleared. Still seeing a backup from St. Charles Rock Road, and 6440 eastbound. Your stop and go from Spady to Lindbergh, where a right lane is still blocked with that crash. We can see it from the jam cam at Lindbergh. And 44 eastbound, still heavy spot there from Bowles to 270 into that ongoing roadwork. 270 northbound, 55 to Manchester, still pretty jammed up there. Westbound 367 to West Florissant, 44 eastbound Arsenal to Kings Highway, and 70 eastbound Blanchette Bridge to 270 slow. That's traffic. I'm Bonnie Green. On 1380 and 105.3 The Answer. Online at theanswerstl.com.
Saturday mornings at 9 are now all about the house. Do you ever wish you could get an hour with a general contractor or building inspector to ask all your home maintenance questions? Well, About the House with Troy Galloway is exactly that. Every Saturday morning at 9, Troy Galloway will spend an hour giving home advice and taking your questions. Submit your questions now on Facebook at the Galloway Building Services Facebook page. And tune in to About the House with Troy Galloway every Saturday morning at 9 on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
You've just become an empty nester. The kids have moved. You've been waiting for this moment. It's time to reinvest in your home. Your home is your safe haven. You've been thinking about adding shutters for quite some time, but you don't know which style would look best and you're unsure of the cost. You've seen them in many homes, both modern and traditional. You're scared to do it yourself, and you should be. Don't go it alone. Contact Michael Proctor at Proctor Drapery. Michael is an interior designer with exceptional expertise when it comes to window treatments for your home. Michael is a top-tier Hunter Douglas priority dealer and your first choice for Norman Plantation shutters. Why wait? Schedule your in-home consultation with his mobile design unit. The one-on-one appointment will ensure the look is exactly what you need for your home. Contact Michael at proctordrapery.com. It's Proctor spelled like doctor.
In the midst of all the uncertainty around us, we all need a refuge, a place to call home. Come home to St. Matthew in Belleville. 9 a.m. is our blended service with a 70-voice sanctuary choir and orchestra. Our contemporary service is at 11 a.m. led by our praise band. Make St. Matt's a great start to your week. I'm Scott Ferguson, Director of Outreach, and I can't wait to see you Sunday. For more information, visit us at stmatthewumc.org.
Rick Pogue here. Have you ever wondered exactly how hail forms or how it manages to grow to the size of golf balls, baseballs, or even larger? In a thunderstorm, strong updrafts lift water droplets so high into the atmosphere that they freeze. Once these tiny ice balls begin to fall, additional updrafts push them right back up, making them grow larger each time, until eventually they become too heavy, finally falling to the ground as large hail, and sometimes causing major damage to your home. After severe storms roll through the area and you're left to deal with the damage, call Arrowhead Building Supply for the professional help you need. High winds and large hail can wreak havoc on a home's exterior very quickly, so never neglect or underestimate the possible damage left behind. Arrowhead is the preferred supplier to hundreds of quality contractor professionals who will treat your home just like their own. Don't leave your home's protection to just anyone. Our contractor customers are also our friends and partners. When severe weather hits, call Arrowhead Building Supply for relief. ArrowheadBuildingSupply.com.
If you have an unpaid tax debt to the IRS that you can't pay, please hear this special notice. Specially approved IRS relief programs designed to aid delinquent taxpayers are now in effect that can significantly improve your financial situation. Depending on your circumstances, you may qualify to have your tax problem resolved in your favor and may even have your back taxes reduced by thousands or eliminated entirely. A relief hotline has been established by Community Tax for you to call and see if you qualify at 800-500-5588. If you owe the IRS back taxes that you can't afford to pay, don't let the IRS trick you into thinking you have no way out. Our highly accredited tax professionals will let you know what you qualify for and how much you can save. We may be able to stop all liens, garnishments, levies, and save you thousands. Call and see if you qualify for this taxpayer relief at 800-500-5588. 800-500-5588. That's 800-500-5588. Community Tax. Who's your tax guy?
KXFN, St. Louis, K287BY, St. Louis.
This Labor Day weekend, get major savings on men's and women's Levi's denim. Plus, save on select home items like mattresses, towels, and more. Get grand old savings this Thursday through Monday at JCPenney.
Hey, don't just listen to Allman in the Morning. See the show at theanswerstl.com. Now, more Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Desperate for changing, starving for truth. I'm closer to where I started. I'm chasing after you. I'm falling even more in love with you. Letting go of all I've held on to. I'm standing here until you make me move. I'm hanging by a move.
Good morning this morning, everybody. Carafano going to be back at 9:30 as we discuss China and Crimea and all the other stuff out there. By the way, and then Sheila Jackson Lee is going to be on the other side of this break, too, because we're going to have a little fun batting that injured mouse around. It's always kind of fun to do that. These people are just sitting ducks. It's so fun. It's like the Brett Stevens thing. That was weird. That guy's a weird dude. That was a weird thing what he did right there. I mean, I knew Brett Stevens was a punk and a neocon never Trumper, but I didn't really know the extent to which he actually had some problems. That's really weird. I might play it again just for the fun of it, because to listen to this is to listen to the mind of almost like a child. He almost sound. I mean, and the problem with that is that I know children, and I had 5 of them, and they're not even like that. So, I mean, this level of weird victimhood is just, and this sensitivity is almost really disturbing. I'm actually a little worried about his family, because I mean he's raising kids apparently, and he's married to somebody. I'm like, man, you must be really annoying to be around. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe he's the nicest guy in the world and we just don't know it. He's invited.
Sounds like a Muppet.
Yeah. But he's really, I mean, it's really weird. Yeah, Maxie says I got to play the bedbug sound, and I do. You can't hear it enough, but I mean, it's really odd. Anyway, by the way, my prediction at this moment, and I want you to please know that I'm right a lot, but I'm not always right. But it'll be Cardinals-Yankees in the World Series. It'll be a rerun of the 1964 World Series. It'll be the 45th anniversary of the 64. Is it 40? No, it's 54-year anniversary. No, 55-year anniversary. I told you I got a 390 in math. Leave me alone.
Who won it back then?
Yankees.
Oh, sorry.
Or the Cardinals.
One of the two? Okay.
I don't know. I think it was the Yankees. That was the problem. That's the problem with the rerun of the World Series, 64 World Series, is the Yankees won the World Series, and so. But nonetheless, it's got to be. We got to get back into the. I got a program from the 1964 Yankees World Series. I wasn't there. I was a year old, but that's my prediction right now, ladies and gentlemen. So stay tuned. 844-855-1380. It's the call. Tammy.com. Real Estate Listener Line.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. President Trump issuing an emergency declaration for Puerto Rico with Tropical Storm Dorian fast approaching the island. Expected to make landfall this evening. It is expected to bring torrential rains, well as fierce winds.
Generally, the amount of rain is what we're mostly concerned about right now, given that we expect 4 to 6 inches of rain, isolated to 10, which can cause, lots of flooding in some areas, mudslides and rivers to flood.
Jose Alamo with the National Weather Service. Forecasters say Dorian could hit the southeast coast of the U.S. later this upcoming weekend. Talks now underway aimed at settling thousands of opioid-related lawsuits.
Purdue Pharma, blamed by some as the main culprit for the opioid crisis in this country, says in a statement it's prepared to defend itself, but also sees little good in years of wasteful litigation and appeals. Purdue and other drug companies have been named in more than 2,000 suits filed by states, counties, and cities across the country. NBC reports that the privately held company is offered to settle for $10 billion to $12 billion. An attorney representing local government says there is a gag order, but he does confirm that there are active settlement discussions underway. Word of the talks comes a couple months before the start of the first federal trial in Cleveland. I'm Tim McGuire.
Political upheaval in the UK. British Prime Minister Johnson moving to suspend Parliament for a time. That would give opposition lawmakers less time to try to block a no-deal Brexit. 23 people killed in a firebomb attack on a bar in the Mexican Gulf Coast state of Veracruz. On Wall Street this hour, stocks are mixed. Right now, the Dow is up about 42 points, while the Nasdaq is down 15. The S&P currently 3 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
From the creators of War Room, the Kendrick Brothers. Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Well, some good news. 170 southbound at Olive. That accident is gone, but we do still have problems on 6440 eastbound. Stop and go Spady to Lindbergh, where right lane still blocked with that crash. We can see it from the jam cam at Lindbergh. And 70 eastbound, a left lane blocked at Hughes now. Your backup starts at Route K because of that crash. And we've also got delays on 270 northbound still. Tesson Ferry to Manchester is heavy. 44 eastbound Bowles to 270 still backing up through roadwork. And 44 eastbound Arsenal to Kings Highway slows. That's traffic. I'm Bonnie Green. On 1380 and 105.3 The Answer. Online at theanswerstl.com.
1380 The Answer. Weather.
Sunny and pleasant today. A comfortable 82 degrees as your high. Clear tonight. Low 64. Sunny and pleasant for Thursday. High 86 into Friday. A little bit warmer, humid intervals of clouds and sunshine. Expect a thunderstorm in the area in the afternoon. High 87. Some sun on Saturday. High 82. I'm Maddie Baggett with your St. Louis Metro forecast on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
I'm Gia Valenti, and I personally invite you to tune into my show, Moxie Minutes with Gia, Saturday mornings at 10 to learn about all things parenting. Moxie Minutes with Gia is the closest you'll get to that manual that doesn't come with your kids. Parenting experts will join me to discuss sleep habits, homework, mental health, and so much more. Submit your questions on Facebook at the Learn with Moxie Facebook page and tune in to Moxie Minutes with Gia every Saturday morning at 10. Brought to you by Gold Shield Security, real police officers who are there when you need them.
This Labor Day weekend, get major savings on men's and women's Levi's denim. Plus, save on select home items like mattresses, towels, and more. Get grand old savings this Thursday through Monday at JCPenney.
Hi, this is Dr. Vadan. Join me on Need, Want, Love, Wellness, Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. We're going to be talking about your health, things to get you from awareness into action and how to change your life in a way that's never been discussed before so that you can then figure out exactly what's going on for you to best suit your lifestyle to get you back to doing the things that you need to do, want to do, and love to do within your life. So join me, Dr. Vadan, on Need, Want, Love, Wellness, Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
This hour of Allman in the Morning is brought to you in part by Dr. Anna Smith, the #1 provider of oral sleep appliances in the United States. Learn more at cpapsucks.com.
Common Sense Radio with Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
Give me land, lots of land, and the starry skies above. Don't fence me in. Let me ride through the wide open country that I love. Don't fence me in. Let me be by myself in the evening breeze. Listen to the murmur of the cottonwood trees. Send me off forever.
Thank you, Phyllis. Thank you. Well, I had a 50-50 chance of getting that one right on the 64 World Series. And it was indeed the Cardinals who prevailed in the 64 World Series. So I am predicting the return of that. I think we can get past the Braves. I think we can get past the Dodgers, depending on how that whole thing works out. Then we got to do a wild card team. So I don't know how that whole thing shapes out. I think it's Braves, Dodgers if they actually wind up taking it, and they will, it looks like. It's Braves, Dodgers, and then probably us against some wild card team. Either that or what happens is we play, I don't know how it really works, or we play the Dodgers, but usually we play the Dodgers later on in the championship series. So I think we get stuck playing like, another wild card team, or the Braves play the wild card team and we play the Dodgers, or the wild card team plays the Dodgers, then we play the Braves. I think that's how it's going to work. Wild card team plays the Dodgers, we play the Braves, we beat the Braves, Dodgers beat the wild card team. It's Cardinals versus Dodgers. We hate the Dodgers more than anything in the world eventually by then, even though I actually happen to like the Dodgers personally. But now that Puig is gone, it's harder to hate them. But anyway, then our disdain for the Dodgers is terrible, and we have a terrible time, and our temperament is poor, and we beat the Dodgers, and then we go on to face the Yankees, who will prevail, I believe, over everybody else. Good morning this morning. That's my prediction. So. That's how the whole thing's going to go. All right, so Sheila Jackson Lee, keep in mind, you realize that, and I think white politicians disappoint white people too, but to tell you the truth, these black politicians out there do such a disservice to the black people they claim to represent. It's really kind of embarrassing. I mean, you have a situation where, we have the Missouri Black Caucus, and again, like I said, Stephen Roberts Jr. is a good guy. I do not question for a second the sincerity of the people in the Missouri Black Caucus and their frustration with what to do about a problem that actually has been created over the past 15 years. So, of course, what happens is you go for the easiest, what you think is the fix, and you're going, okay, more gun control. That's what you think is going to be the answer. When the reality is this is a long time in the making crisis, and it's a product of drug culture that hasn't been prosecuted properly, a gun culture that hasn't been prosecuted properly, and an economy that hasn't been addressed adequately by the white liberal establishment leadership. It's been an ongoing problem, and so I can understand the frustration of the Black Caucus saying, let's just go in and do some gun control, then we can say we did something. But that's not going to work, and we know it's not going to work. We've seen it in Chicago. So municipalities can have all the power in the world, but they're not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to solve the problem with gun control. It's just the way it works. But still, and then you have the people like Sheila Jackson Lee and others who think the resolution for black people is reparations, which is never going to happen. It's not going to happen in a million years. I'm not paying reparations. I'll tell you that. And so, but still, that makes them feel good about doing something about it. And then what happens is white liberals like Andrea Mitchell feel good about interviewing black people about reparations. So that means that covers whiteys addressing the needs of black people. Oh yes, of course I've done. Of course I'm not racist and a white liberal guiltist. I interviewed somebody about reparations. So here's Andrea Mitchell with Sheila Jackson Lee.
Understand better how this would work. Would it only be for the descendants of slaves, or would it be?
So by the way. This is the reparations discussion is the commemoration of the 400th anniversary of slavery. So they're now commemorating anniversaries here. On this, the 400th anniversary of slavery, let us talk about reparations. It's like the 400th anniversary of slavery. I mean, it's almost like they're thinking that they have to create a hook that isn't there, I don't know. We need some kind of hook to talk about reparations. Like, say, when did slavery start? Oh, probably 400. Good, because they wouldn't bring it up. Can you imagine them saying on this the 399th anniversary of slavery? They couldn't do that, or the 392nd anniversary. No, it had to be like the 400th anniversary of slavery. That opens the door for this moronic discussion between Andrea Mitchell and Sheila Jackson Lee.
All African Americans or people of color who have suffered from the effects of slavery, from discrimination in different aspects of life.
Okay, first of all, that doesn't make any sense. And secondly, you're lucky that I entered it at this time because it took Andrea Mitchell like 53 seconds to ask a question, which is hugely annoying. But anyway, did you see how she talked about African Americans, blacks, having suffered from the effects of slavery, including discrimination? How like that makes no sense at all. because slavery didn't create discrimination. Slavery was discrimination. There's no question about that. But it didn't create ongoing discrimination. Like how would that work in the mind of a kook like Andrea Mitchell? Like let's say that I'm discriminating against a black person. Is the assumption that somehow I am like, yeah, man, I remember slavery. Yeah. That's right. Black people are inferior. I'm glad I'm reminded of that on this for the 400th anniversary. So, no, it's like that doesn't go in. People who are discriminatory and racist aren't racist and discriminatory because slavery once existed. They're racist and discriminatory because they're horrible people and subhuman. So that's why. But it's not because of slavery. So Andrea Mitchell's like trying desperately to spit this thing out, and she can't do it. Here, let's try it again.
All African Americans or people of color who have suffered from the effects of slavery, from discrimination in different aspects of life.
Oh, discrimination in different aspects of life. Like, what would those be, Andrea? What would they be? You know, discrimination in different aspects of life. It's like, okay, so discrimination. Now, I'd love to hear what the different aspects of life that Andrea Mitchell's talking about, because I can't even begin to figure out like what the different aspects of life would be and how reparations would resolve the problem of the different aspects of life being affected by slavery. Like you can't imagine somebody on the floor of the House going, okay, and now herewith House Bill number 74, reparations to resolve the effects of slavery on the different aspects of life. It's like, what? What are you talking about? The problem is Andrea Mitchell cares so little about reparations because she really doesn't give a rip about black people or reparations. But because she's at MSNBC, the reparations channel, she's got to kind of slog her way through this interview with Sheila Jackson Lee. I'm not giving her an out here. I'm just saying she's like, this is, you can tell she's not remotely interested in this discussion because she can't articulate a question. Yeah, African Americans, about slavery and discrimination and, you know, and all this stuff over there, yeah.
People of color who have suffered from the effects of slavery, from discrimination in different aspects of life.
She's like, get me out of here. I'm not trying to give her a break, but you could tell she's completely insincere.
Well, it's so good to be.
Well, I'm glad you asked, Andrea, says Sheila. I'm glad you asked a question that makes no sense so that I can respond with another answer that makes no sense but is broad enough that seems to address your make no sense question. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be with you.
Let me indicate what a moment in history we have, and thank you for reflecting on the ceremony that occurred in Virginia on commemorating those who arrived in 1619 on the White Lion. And slaves, about 20 or so of them, were traded for food. In the midst of white supremacy, white nationalism, and what I said a few weeks ago, that racism is a national security.
The ones who came on the ship, weren't they from Africa? Right, okay. Who put them on the ship in Africa? The 19 people she's talking about. I'd be curious to find out who put them on the ship. Because I'd venture to guess they were black people who put them on the ship. I'm just I mean, these people didn't just sail over here and shop themselves around. You know what I mean? I don't know for a fact how that, but somebody put them on the ship. And it could have been white people who colonized whatever that area there was. But I don't think that was the case. I think they were black people in some cases traded by other black people.
Oh, in many cases, I think that was it.
Yeah.
From what I've read, that's how it worked. Actually, and it even went before that with the Muslims and were the original traders of the slaves, and then the tribes that were closer to the coast went into the deeper parts of the African continent and brought the weaker tribes in to sell. So it was other tribes that sold other tribes. So that's what I.
And Muslims too.
They originated the slave trade. They're originators of it. They started it. That's historically accurate. So.
They should then Ilhan Omar should pay.
Right. It does. We've ignored that entirely the whole time we've discussed race and slavery in this country, that the origin of it. But I read about it, so
yeah,
I let little learned.
Well, then when you're asked about reparations, people always says, you know what? You just check. I don't have any money, but I think Ilhan Omar has some.
And what about people of color? What about Native Americans? Where's reparations for Native Americans? And what about the Asians that built the railroads? There's so many discussions you could have about this that they don't want to talk about. But
yeah,
I don't know.
What about reparations for me?
Yeah, you're people. You're people of color,
and the pain that I went through.
You're white. White's a color,
right?
So.
It's hard to be white in this society.
Real hard.
All right. Well, we'll see. So yeah, I just was trying to delineate that element there. See,
Brett, this commission would have a.
They're going to set up a reparations commission. Can't wait for that. I can't wait for the first meeting of the reparations commission. Oh Lord, Hank Johnson. I do believe Puerto Rico is going to sink into the ocean or whatever he was thinking there. So that ought to be a gallery of stars there. The reparations commission.
Authority. The commission would study reparation proposals, and we would not dictate to the commission its design, but clearly it would be designed for those descendants of slavery. Tragically, 250 years of slavery in the United States, where those enslaved Africans did not receive workman's comp, salary, 401k, or anything, and literally built the wealth of the United States and Europe. That's why it was called the transatlantic slave trade, taking enslaved Africans from Africa, frankly, from many parts of Africa. This commission would have the authority appointed by the president, the majority leader, the speaker, and scholars to really dig deep, something that we have never done before, and to design the response. And I think America is ready for this because of what we have been going through in the last couple of weeks, because of the attitude of our commander-in-chief, and because of what we have seen, the dastardly impacts of white nationalism, white supremacy, and outright racism that has impacted others, but certainly has impacted over the decades and centuries African Americans, the descendants of enslaved Africans.
Have they? How many white nationalists have they arrested in the murders of black people in North St. Louis? Do we know? How many police officers have they indicted for the killings of black people in North St. Louis? Sheila Jackson Lee knows better. I don't know where she's from. Where's she from? Atlanta or something? She knows better. Look at Atlanta, Detroit, whatever. The white nationalists aren't killing anybody out there. They know darn well what the problem is. And I'm not paying reparations. I guarantee you. I'll go to the mat on that one. It's one thing I'm not doing. It's bad enough I get money stolen from me by the federal government anyway, but I'm not paying reparations. You're out of your mind, lady. Jim, thanks for calling the show. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, you got to hand it to the Jewish people. They're not asking the Egyptians for reparations. They were enslaved, what was it, 400 years, which was longer. And black people have been enslaved in Africa by other black people for way before America. And, Sacagawea was a slave. I don't know if you guys know that, but she was captured and sold and became a servant to the United States government while still being a slave. So, okay, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
hang up
No,
and
I
let
you know,
you-
that's the thing is that you, I don't even know. What are they going to do? Some kind of a blood test or some kind of a thing where of who actually is a actual African American? How's that going to work? You know what I mean? Like who actually is a descendant of a slave in this? I don't know how they're going to even determine that. And there's certainly, I don't know how they're going to determine how much I'm supposed to pay, but I ain't paying.
What about the descendants of the slaves of black slave owners, which there were many? The number one largest slave owner in history of America was a black man who owned the most slaves. So what are they going to do with those? I've always wondered that. I wish she would have asked her the question you just asked, which is how are they going to physically figure it out, like the blood test or whatever. That's what I really want.
I don't know how they're going to do that, or how they're going to just simply calculate whatever it is. As opposed to like, you know, she's talking about like 401ks. Yeah, right. Give you a 401k. 844-855-1380. The call Tammy.com real estate listener line.
More Allman in the Morning coming up on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Oh, yeah, sometimes I hear you say smash. I ain't never heard of a lot of the songs you play on that People's Praise Party where the word is in the music Jesus show. Yeah, and you probably ain't never heard me testifying to that Psalm 118:17. I will live to tell the world what the Lord has done for me. That's the People's Praise Party. New music discovery, always good. Smash testimony, good always. People's Praise Party, good as to your getting blessed. Sundays 11 a.m. right here at 1380 a.m. and 105.3 FM, The Answer.
Summertime in St. Louis. If you hate to paint, do what your neighbor Mr. Rob Miller from Harvesttown Auto Body in St. Peters did. He called Rhino Shield. Rob, what was the thought process for going with Rhino Shield as a business owner?
My family's business is over 10,000 square feet, and it did not have the curb appeal I wanted.
Rob, tell everyone how the experience was with Rhino Shield from start to finish.
The process that I liked was when you came out, you gave me all of these options that would fit my building. Our building was really faded. I don't want to have to paint my building again. 25 years is a long time to not have to worry about the outside maintenance of your building as far as paint. That's a no-brainer. That's why Rhino Shield worked for me.
Are your neighbors jealous?
I would be if I was them.
Thanks, Rob. Now it's time to call 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Genius.
Don't paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Interested in purchasing a silencer? Stop by and talk to the pros at Razorback Armory, the region's only full-service, silver-level silencer shop dealer. With our state-of-the-art all-digital process, we'll be with you every step of the way. For your account setup, fingerprints, photographs, and federal forms. All are done promptly and professionally in shop while you wait. Stop in and check out our vast selection of silencers and other NFA items at Razorback Armory, located just east of 270 on Manchester Road in Des Peres, and online at RazorbackArmory.com.
Are you ready to sell your house but don't know who to trust with a listing? I'm Tammy Mitchell-Hines, and I sell a house every 30 hours. From staging your house to filling out the paperwork, my team is here to guide you step by step through the process of selling your house and getting the most value from it. Go to calltammy.com and let us do the work for you. If you buy or sell with me, you can use my moving truck for free. Go to calltammy.com. That's calltammy.com.
Are you unhappily single? Does your marriage or relationship feel hard? I get a lot of emails from readers who are struggling in their marriage or relationship. Unfortunately, the help an individual or couple needs can rarely be answered in a series of emails. For this reason, I offer relationship coaching for those who are struggling to find love and for couples whose marriage or relationship feels stuck in a negative cycle. Go to SuzanneBanker.com and sign up today for a coaching session with me and learn the tools you need to find love and sustain it. It's so much easier than you think. That's SuzanneBanker.com.
Dennis Prager, this morning at 11. Now, more Common Sense Radio with Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
All right, I got to get to the Brett Stevens meltdown really quickly, but I want to make sure I get Richard's call in here really quickly on line one. Richard, welcome to the program. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, good morning, Mr. Gamey. Hey, so the last time I read the history books, this country was founded 1780, when the Constitution was ratified, 1865, slaves were freed. About 80 years of actual history of slavery in this country under the U.S. flag, and yet we keep hearing the statement, 400 years of slavery in America. Well, wait a minute. America wasn't founded for 400 years. So are they going to ask for reparations from the Dutch, the Spanish, the Portuguese, the English, the French, who actually brought the slaves into this country?
Yeah, great point. I mean, I think I wonder if the commission will start to do the kind of math that Richard's doing regarding this whole thing. If reparations is even going to move. Thanks for calling the show, buddy. Yeah, I mean, find Miles Standish's family. Get him. Some poor, Bill Standish is out there somewhere. Gets a notice. But, your great Miles is, just pay up now. And Standish is like, I'm a mechanic. What are you talking about? I wonder if Miles Standish's family is still around. I bet they are. If they're not doing too much bragging. They ought to be. Yes, I'm the great-great-grandson of Miles Standish, so just want to let you know. All right, here we go. Brett Stevens. This is like the weirdest dude on the planet right now. He has that distinction. A professor dared to call him a bedbug and didn't actually even call him a bedbug because he didn't tweet him. He just said it on Twitter. Somehow Brett Stevens has some kind of detector on his, or somebody's looking out because they found Brett Stevens' name. I'm sure every 5 minutes Brett Stevens is looking up whether or not he's been referred to. Can you look up whether you've been referred to on Twitter? Oh, you can? Okay. So I'm sure he does that because he seemingly is that kind of guy. Listen to this weirdo.
Your Twitter account after a controversy that involved someone calling you a name. Would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, I'm going to be careful with my words because
Okay.
I know these are going to be examined carefully. So I think Twitter brings out the worst in its users. It tends to bring out the worst in its users. And yesterday, a professor at George Washington University described me as a bedbug or a metaphorical bedbug, just in the context of the New York Times having a bedbug problem in our building. And I think that kind of rhetoric is dehumanizing and totally unacceptable, no matter where it comes from.
So he emailed the guy's provost and decided he was going to try to get the guy in trouble, even though he denies he did. So he said he could come to my house and
be aware. Managers should be.
He come to my house and tell me that in person, and we're all like, "We'll come to your house." Then the anchor herself is incredulous. She's like, dude, really? I'm sitting here with a 45-year-old man who is acting like basically some kind of sick, weird, paranoid dude. And even the anchor's like, yeah, this is pretty crazy.
We are in real life.
I would agree with that final statement for sure. Is that the worst thing that you have ever been called on social media?
There's a bad history of being called, of being analogized to insects that goes back to a lot of totalitarian regimes in the past. I've been called worse. I wrote this guy a personal note. Now it's out there for everyone to
Even
see.
the anchor's like, dude, whoa. I mean, this is one of the most left-wing harpies on the planet, and she is even mystified by this guy's total lack of any semblance of masculinity. It's crazy. 844-855-1380.
With SRN News, I'm Rich Thomason in Washington. President Trump has approved an emergency declaration for Puerto Rico as Tropical Storm Dorian moves closer to the island. Expected to make landfall this evening, it is expected to bring torrential rains as well as fierce winds. Forecasters most concerned about the rainfall. They say there could be widespread flooding. And forecasters say the storm could hit the southeast coast of the U.S. later in the upcoming weekend, although they say it's still early at this point, urging people to just keep tabs on the progress of the storm. In the UK, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson moving to suspend Parliament for a time. That would give opposition lawmakers less time to try to block a no-deal Brexit, and now the Queen has approved a suspension of the UK Parliament. Wall Street, the Dow up 39 points, and this is SRN News.
Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
We're still not quite out of the traffic woods yet this morning. 70 eastbound stop and go from Route K to Hughes, where 2 left lanes remain blocked with an accident. Traffic just getting through in the right lane. We can see it from the jam cam on 70. And 44 eastbound, that's got a big backup. Southwest Avenue to Kings Highway. 270 northbound, still tight Gravois to Manchester. And 44 eastbound, Highway Drive to 270. You'll see delays there through construction. 6440 eastbound, Clayton Morrison to Big Bend slow. That's traffic. I'm Bonnie Green. On 1380 and 105.3 The Answer. Online at theanswerstl.com.
1380 The Answer. Weather.
Sunny and pleasant today. A comfortable 82 degrees as your high. Clear tonight. Low 64. Sunny and pleasant for Thursday. High 86 into Friday. A little bit warmer, humid intervals of clouds and sunshine. Expect a thunderstorm in the area in the afternoon. High 87. Some sun on Saturday. High 82. I'm Maddie Baggett with your St. Louis Metro forecast on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
Dennis Prager is tired of the media coverage of the president.
There's always another example of the president being divisive. The president basically said, why would a Jew vote Democrat? How could this be? Jews, I want you to be more faithful to your people and to the Jewish state. That is now white nationalist advocacy?
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekday mornings at 11 on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer. News, opinion, insight.
You've had your new truck for a few weeks now. Looks good. But now you're realizing running boards would make your ride look great. Since you're gonna buy a boat, you need a hitch. Oh, and what about a floor liner? Let's keep it looking nice. Stop by Custom Car and Truck in O'Fallon, Illinois. Selling top brands for trucks like Bug Shields, step bars, and bed liners for over 20 years. See John and the crew off Highway 50 in O'Fallon, Illinois, or online at CustomCarAndTruck.com. Now with free installation and a lifetime warranty on vent visors and Bug Shields.
Hi, this is Scott Ferguson, the Director of Outreach at St. Matthew. There's something exciting happening at St. Matt's, and I'd like to invite you to experience it. We have a service at 9 a.m. with a 70-voice sanctuary choir and orchestra, and our contemporary service at 11 a.m. with our praise band. We can't wait to see you there. For more information, visit us at stmatthewumc.org.
This Labor Day weekend, get major savings on men's and women's Levi's denim. Plus, save on select home items like mattresses, towels, and more. Get grand old savings this Thursday through Monday at JCPenney.
This hour of Allman in the Morning is brought to you in part by Dr. Anna Smith. Come see what your smile can be at Dentistry with TLC.
Listen to Allman in the Morning with Alexa. Wake up and say, Alexa, play The Answer St. Louis. Now, back to Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
Oh, yes. Good morning, everybody, and happy Wednesday, all of you. Big day today. We learned that you must not call that baby Brett Stevens, the New York Times, a bedbug. That was the most hilarious thing of the day, I'll tell you that. Yesterday, we're going to follow up on that. Plus, Dave Chappelle being eaten up by the left-wing mob. Dave Chappelle, of all people. I'm Dave Chappelle. Yeah, can't believe it. In the meantime, though, right out of the blocks, of course, every Wednesday morning as it is, he's up and at 'em. He's ready to rock. His name is Jim Carafano. He's from the Heritage Foundation, and he's a star, ladies and gentlemen, in our eyes. How you doing, buddy? Hi.
Hey. My feet just do the happy dance when they play the "Don't Fence Me In" song. I just can't help it.
It's such a great song. And by the way, just you and I might have talked about that before, and I don't want to waste too much valuable time because I know you're on a short leash here because you're cheating on us with somebody else at 6:17. But nonetheless, that's David Byrne from the Talking Heads doing a version of Cole Porter's Don't Fence Me In from an album. It's a compilation of all kinds of different people doing Cole Porter songs. So it's called Red, Hot, and Blue. And so Sting is doing a Cole Porter song. I think even the Thompson twins do one. It's pretty interesting. And that one always stood out to me. So, yeah.
I never knew that was David Byrne. That's crazy. I just saw him in concert not long ago. He's great.
Oh, you did? You went to go see David Byrne?
Yeah.
Dude, you are so much more. I always thought you were like ultra cool, but that makes you really super cool now. You went to go see David Byrne.
I even went to a Lyle Lovett concert, but let's not go there. Let's just move on.
Well, that too, though. Lyle Lovett's pretty cool himself, I have to tell you. But David Byrne, I mean, that's kind of off the grid, man. But congratulations on that. All right. So was it good, by the way, real quickly?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Okay. All right. So we have the news this morning. A lot going on. We have the news this morning that the Department of Homeland Security is now infusing some money in for border security, $271 million. That's got to be good news, correct?
It's great. You know, they argue we don't want to we don't want to wall across something, whatever. You know, everybody's talked to the experts. You know, there's probably arguably between 600-700 miles of wall that really is efficacious and totally makes sense. So when we get there, you know, then we can argue about the other, 300 or something. But what the administration is doing is absolutely spot on. I think it's just so in your face that Trump has managed to do this, build new, expanded, and really effective border infrastructure despite the other guys. I hats off to him.
Yeah, so do you think there's going to be some kind of, I don't know what, there's always some kind of backlash. They figure out something. So if I really had it out for President Trump, I would talk about how, oh, wow, just less than a month before the anniversary of 9/11, we're diverting funds from the Department of Homeland Security to discriminate against Mexicans.
Yeah, nobody cares.
I'm just trying to,
No, I think the problem for the left is they've gone so anti-Trump on immigration and border security that they've gone to silliness. I mean, their answer is literally do nothing. Let everybody in, give them health care, Social Security, and everything, do nothing, and have open borders. I mean, it's very, very difficult to argue that the left's position is anything more than open borders, and so they have no space to go. I mean, they can't fall off the end of the earth because they're teetering on the edge.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. All right, so also as it relates to trade, there's some interesting dynamics going on here. I really do think that the president seems to be getting the upper hand in this trade issue. China is really such an interesting animal in terms of their responses. It's almost as if the minute President Trump announced at the G7 that Japan was going to buy a bunch of corn up, China said, hey, listen, we'll go ahead and start talking. That was interesting. I appreciated that.
It's funny. I was on Fox Business this morning, and they read an assessment that was exactly the opposite. That basically China's playing Trump like a fiddle. And so they read this thing, and they go, "Well, the Washington Post reported," and I go, "Well, look, you don't get objective reporting from the Washington Post," and they go, "Well, no," and then from New York Times they go, "No, it's the Washington Post." I said, "I don't care. Washington Post, New York Times. You're not getting objective reporting. I mean, you're just getting essentially a partisan screed." I think the reality is I don't know if we can really make a fair assessment of how the back and forth between these guys is going. It's like I said, look, it's like a poker game. If everybody wants to show me their cards, I'll tell you how the game's going to end. But I think there's just so much back and forth between these two sides, and each side's trying to poke the other. If you're asking me who's winning the race, I don't know.
Yeah, I understand that. We don't know. This is the first time this has ever happened where we've had an American president confront China in this fashion, so we really don't know.
And this is the thing that this is the thing that totally gets missed is G7 and all this. Everybody acknowledges under their breath, because they don't want to say a nice thing about Trump, that at some point somebody had to stand up to the Chinese. That literally he is the chosen one. That for the first time we have a global leader who is saying China is the problem and we need to deal with this. We may not all agree on how to deal with it. We may not agree if his way is the right way, but he has done something that no other leader has done, which has pinned the tail on the donkey. This is the big global problem. He's done that, and we should credit him for that.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, and then speaking of G7, let's talk about G8. And let's talk about the talk of President Trump talking about Putin coming back. I thought it was very interesting over the weekend how everybody suddenly took a sudden interest in Crimea and the actions of Putin when under Obama this happened and he did nothing. It was a series of doing nothings when Putin acted, whether it be originally with Ukraine or when Putin was doing all kinds of other things. And so suddenly everybody was like, yeah, but what about Crimea? It's like, wait a minute, you didn't care about Crimea back when Putin actually annexed it under the nose of Obama. Can you educate us on that?
Well, I still think actually that we care about Crimea. This is because Macron the other day said, "Oh, let's let Russia back in too." But what neither one of them said, right, was let Russia back in. But right, so well, what are the criteria under which we would let Russia back in? And honestly, I don't think that's changed for the United States. I mean, yeah, Trump blames Obama for losing, which is fair. I mean, it happened on his watch. I mean, in fairness to Obama, I think there's probably limited things the U.S. could have done. We could have stronger signal support for the Ukraine before, maybe deterred Putin from doing it. But once he grabbed Crimea, I mean, we can really we're going to start World War III to stop that. But it happened on Obama's watch. The U.S. Trump administration has been very strong. We've never recognized Russia's ownership of the Ukraine. And I think for Russia to get back in to rejoin the G8, they'd have to do a whole bunch of things, including going back to what's called the Minsk agreements, which is how Ukraine and Russia are supposed to negotiate their way out of this crisis, that they'd have to commit to that. But nobody talks about that. They just said, we want Russia back in. And nobody asks, okay, well, what do they have to do? And the answer is probably they're going to have to do all the stuff they always had to do to get back in and get the sanctions off. So I'm not really sure our position's really changed, and I don't think Trump's gone soft on Russia.
Yeah, I don't either. But what I'm saying is it just seemed as if people acted like President Trump was being soft on Putin and that Crimea somehow was his fault. I mean, honestly, if you were under 30 and not watching the news, you'd believe that based on what the news said.
Right, and of course Macron said the same thing, but nobody attacked Macron. Look, I mean, if you look at the coverage of the G7, all it really tells you is about the politics of the people covering it. Right, everybody just spun. The G7 is just a talk fest. Nothing really happens, and nothing did happen, right? But the spin is always about what do I want to say? If I want to attack Trump, it's like this article in the Washington Post saying, "Well, the Chinese are just playing Trump." Well, what are your sources that really tell you that? How many of you really know what the Chinese are doing and thinking? Do you have people in China? Are the Chinese? Did you do an interview with the Xi? I mean, they're just making this stuff up in their heads.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing though. If the G7 happens at Doral, I'm going. You know what I mean? I'm going to cover the G7 for the first time in my life.
No, you're not. You're going to go down and play a couple rounds of golf.
Well, if I really played golf, yeah, I would. I still have my dad's irons that actually are like swinging tree trunks.
Those are the ones he used when he played with Bob Hogan.
Oh yeah, I'm not kidding you. I still have persimmon woods, buddy.
Oh, retro.
Oh yeah, and the bag is made out of Naga hide. It looks like the roof of a Torino. I'm not kidding you.
You need knickers and a little tap, and you would be the darling of the chorus.
Oh yeah,
I leave the G7 to go report on you playing around with golf.
No doubt about it. I don't think they'd let that stuff on the thing on the plane. They'd be like, "What is this thing?" All right, and also real quickly, I know that this was something that probably amused you was Bernie Sanders praising China for having a
positive. Where do you start?
I know.
Bernie Sanders praising China. They put 1 million people in prison, and you. First of all, they lifted more people out of poverty than anything. Well, they have about a third of the planet's population. I mean, they do more anything than anything, right? I mean, but to be praising China, that's the guy that wants to be. I can't go into the politics of this stuff, but look, there's nothing admirable about the Chinese system. Look what they're doing to the people of Hong Kong. They're reneged on their promises. They promised the Hong Kong people when the British returned sovereignty that would be one country, two systems. They've lied about that. They throw 1 million Uyghurs in prison. They are bankrupting countries and stealing their ports. I mean, is that his idea of a moral thing he wants to emulate? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I just find that really odd. It's like, he wants to bring that system here, and we're like, wait a second, we know a little bit about that system. Goodness gracious!
And of course, the irony is they didn't lift people out of poverty by relying on socialism and communism. They lifted people out of poverty by a combination of adopting capitalist practices and cheating, lying, and stealing.
Yeah, wow. For Bernie to be out there, it's crazy. All right. Well, hey, I hope you have a great rest of your week. I trust that you were. I don't know whether you were traveling last week or you had a vacation, but I hope you
was
had
in Texas.
Oh, okay.
Great. Yeah, we were out there talking to Heartland.
All right. Well, listen, I hear the phone ringing. I hear the other chime from the other guy. All right. Okay, buddy. Have a great rest of your week.
All right. Talk to you next week.
All right. That's Jim Carafano. Yeah, I'm not kidding about those. If you look at my golf bag, I need to bring that out again, man. I'll bring it in here. Of course, it weighs like 100 pounds. And if you've ever seen what Naugahyde is, it's banana yellow. Although it's not really banana yellow, it's weathered banana yellow. And the irons. Do you play golf at all, Phil? Yeah, you don't. I'm going to ask Maxie if he plays golf because I know Maxie does not play golf. Maxie, do you play golf?
I mean, mini golf.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah. Okay, if you're like me, then, because I mean, I when I say I know Maxie doesn't play golf, isn't meant to be some kind of disparaging comment. I actually think that not playing golf sometimes can be a feather in your cap. Because let me tell you something, with kids, I don't know how these guys get away with it, but these guys who golf on Saturdays for 5 hours, I don't know how they do it. I don't know what they've done throughout the week. They must have built up a large amount of marital capital and family capital to do that. But plus, there came a time where people just stopped playing 9 holes, and now automatically had to go play 18 holes. It's like, well, wait a minute, though. Why can't we just play 9? That's what we used to do all the time. Play 9 holes, takes you about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Buzz through it. Go to Ruth Park in U City. You could even do it faster, and you're done. But no, it's got to be 18 holes. You got to slink around. And plus, golfing, it used to be like for like tournaments and things sometimes or whatever, and you go and you're with it. Just is tedium sometimes. Anyway, I've got this golf bag and my dad's golf clubs, and these are irons. These are blades, like true blades. Like now you have these irons that are really light. But these things they're like 20 pounds a piece. Like the 7-iron, you get out, you're like, oh, and you're like, boom, I don't know how they played with them back in the day. And the persimmon woods with the screws on the front are awesome. I really actually kind of like, I actually think, for instance, Natalie, my 11-year-old, she's a great athlete. And I think that golf, she might like golf. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to. So many things that you want to do with your kids, and introducing them to $60 guaranteed 18 rounds of golf and being away from your kids is probably maybe not the environment that I will teach her in. But anyway, it could be fun. All right, so lots to talk about, including, I know there's a little bit of a salacious bent, this Ilhan Omar thing, because apparently the wife of one of the guys who works with her has filed for divorce or something and then claimed that her husband had an affair with Ilhan Omar, and I don't know what kind of relevancy this really has to the equation, but I know that Ilhan Omar acts like she's a prima donna, and, it just goes to show you everybody's got something going on. We'll talk more about that. The Brett Stevens thing, folks, you got to hear this. This is the guy I attacked earlier in the week. He's the neocon, never Trumper at the New York Times. He's supposedly the conservative guy at the New York Times. And he's a very reprehensible individual, very annoying individual, and always pops on whenever he can prostitute himself, like, for instance, over the weekend, calling President Trump sick and unfit and all this kind of stuff. Boy, talk about unfit. Try calling Brett Bedbug Stevens Bedbug, and he goes crazy. We'll have that for you. 844, that's fun. 844-855-1380. The calltammy.com real estate listener line.
More Allman in the Morning coming up on 1380 and 105.3 The Answer.
Allman here for a longtime Common Sense Radio supporter, Matthew Mitchell, the Matthew Mitchell Allstate Agency. 855-QUOTE-ME. Low premiums and low deductibles on your home, auto, and life, and I have all 3 of those policies with my good friend Matthew. Also, he's got some great deals for the young driver. You know how expensive it can be to insure them. He's got low premiums and low deductibles, even for your young drivers. 855-QUOTE-ME, 855-QUOTE-ME.
Hi,
Hi, this is Gia, the host of Moxie Minutes with Gia, and you might be wondering why I even do this radio thing. Ultimately, my show is all about communication and education. I founded Learn with Moxie to help our kids to become better communicators in a screen-obsessed world. If you're interested in getting the Learn with Moxie curriculum in your school, contact me at learnwithmoxie.com. That's learnwithmoxie.com. And as always, keep talking.
Arrowhead now offers the full line of roofing and siding products from CertainTeed. Beautify your home with CertainTeed landmark architectural shingles. For an even bolder statement, check out CertainTeed's famous Grand Manor or Presidential Shake, or the new Belmont traditional slate look. Get the rustic look of natural cedar siding without the high cost and maintenance of wood with Cedar Impressions polymer shakes. Cedar Board's insulated siding is an energy-saving, foam-backed siding with a wood grain texture molded from real cedar boards. Contact us today, arrowheadbuildingsupply.com.
I've been trying to lose weight for 12 years now, but nothing ever works long term. Low carb, low fat, keto, fasting. I need help.
Hello, this is Dr. Jim Hankinson of Back to Wellness Chiropractic. I am the leading doctor when it comes to weight loss management in St. Louis. We offer a proven program that will help you lose weight and make healthy lifestyle changes. To learn more, go to stlbackdoc.com. That's stlbackdoc.com. And don't forget to listen to my weekly wellness show every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. right here on The Answer.
Health insurance premiums making you sick? Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. I have the answer. Dryden Camus Insurance Agency serving Missouri and Illinois. This is non-Obamacare, and you can enroll anytime. You don't have to wait for open enrollment. Why should you have to pay for maternity coverage and pediatric dental care if you don't need it? KDDI-INS.com. KDDI-INS.com or call Joyce at 877-695-0245. 877-695-0245. This is the answer. This is the solution. KDDI-INS.com.
This is Tammy with Tammy Mitchell Hines & Company Real Estate. We sell a house every 30 hours. Buying a home is a big decision and a big investment. It's where your child will take their first steps. It's where you will plant your first garden. It's where your family will enjoy Christmas mornings. Your new home is a place to go to escape the world. It's your home and your memories start here. Let us help you get there. Go to calltammy.com. That's calltammy.com.
Hi, this is Jess with Razorback Armory in Des Peres. I would like to take a moment to thank all of our Answer listeners for their continued patronage and support over the last 4 years. I know there are many choices out there for you to spend your hard-earned dollars. I definitely appreciate you choosing to shop local with Razorback Armory as your go-to shop for firearms, silencers, ammo, and accessories. Thanks again, and I look forward to seeing you soon at Razorback Armory, located just east of 270 on Manchester Road in Des Peres and online at razorbackarmory.com.
KXFN, St. Louis, K287BY, St. Louis.
Hey, Michael's Flooring Outlet is back supporting Allman in the Morning. Love this guy and love what they do for you. 4 locations throughout the St. Louis area. Check it out at michaelsflooringoutlet.com. The best installers you're going to find anywhere. The highest quality flooring products you're going to find anywhere. And if you want to test it out, go to Google and just Google Michael's Flooring Outlet reviews. And you're going to see top-notch 5-star ratings almost all across the board. michaelsflooringoutlet.com.
Hey, want to talk with Jamie? Call 844-855-1380. 844-855-1380. And interact with Common Sense Radio. This is Allman in the Morning on 1380 and 105.3. The Answer.
But somehow still lived on. I wish I was a sentimental ornament you hung on.
You go to Olive Garden, man?
I haven't gone there in a long time. I had a minestrone soup there one time I really liked, but that's all I remember of it.
What they have, aren't they like big on the breadsticks and stuff like that?
That's what everybody talks about. Yeah, going there for breadsticks.
It's kind of like those cheese muffins at Red Lobster.
Right. Yeah.
Apparently, there's been on Twitter the hashtag Boycott Olive Garden.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh, that's funny. The outrage mob now is angry that the apparently they claim that Olive Garden's parent company, Darden Restaurants, contributed to President Trump's re-election campaign. The company's like, no, we didn't. Boycott the Olive Garden.
They had somebody from the company all day long personally responding to
Yeah.
almost every tweet. We don't know where this information is coming from. It's incorrect. We did not donate to any political whatever. So whatever.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's really it's really weird how that happens, but it doesn't matter. It ultimately what happens is something like this is out there, and then somewhere along the line, it takes hold with somebody. There's a certain level of the population now that has gone into their day-to-day thinking that the Olive Garden contributed to Trump's campaign. And these people all boycott, like they go to Olive Garden anyway. You know what I mean? It's like when Charles Jaco, he didn't have a pot to piss in. It's like, I'm not going to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse anymore. It's like, dude, you can't afford to go to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. You're spending all your money on cigarettes, booze, and heart medication. Talking about, you don't have any money. We're not going to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse again. It's like, yeah, right, dude. You're boiling hot dogs for your life now. You're just short of being homeless. But anyway, it was enough to scare Ruth's Chris. Actually, the person that scared him was an elected state representative. But instead of choking on a piece of steak, she'll be choking on something else in not too long, in that distant future. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of like one of those things where this thing takes hold and you're off to the races. You can't draw it back. But at least the Olive Garden people decided they were going to respond to it individually. But that's the problem with Twitter, is things get so out of hand so fast that you can hardly stop it. But
Flash fire of lies. That's what I call it.
Yeah.
Flash fire. It just goes crazy like that. And it did. And people believed it all day. But people were like, I'm not giving up breadsticks, man. No way. Screw that. It's pretty awesome. The breadsticks did win the day, I think, actually. So
let's see. Apparently, I don't know. There's a place called OpenSecrets.org. It's a really good website, by the way. We could show where people are, where money's going. And it shows that neither Darden nor its employees have made donations for the 2020 campaign. In the 2016 elections, Darden Restaurants PACs contributed $101,000 to candidates. An additional $30,000 came from Darden employees. For what it's worth, the candidate with the most cash from Darden employees, or the Olive Garden parent company, was Hillary Clinton at $8,407. And Donald Trump got $886. Unbelievable. So basically, if you're a Trump supporter, I'm not a boycott guy, but if anything, the Olive Garden contributed more to Hillary Clinton than he did Donald Trump. But so what? I don't make my choices based on. I really don't. I don't want to know. I don't care. If I like the food, I'm going to go. Like, I know some of these guys over at Citywide wouldn't have anything to do with me, but I still like their beer. So, you know what I mean? That's how it all goes. That's how grown-ups act, generally. Not saying I'm a grown-up, but you know what I'm saying. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.
News this hour from